Good evening, everyone. Welcome to America's Third Party. I'm David Sponheim, and yes, we're in the midst of 2020, and this is Truth Tuesday. Welcome. Welcome to what we now are perceiving to be a rather unique world, a new America, if you will. Do we want to make it a great new America, or do we want to accept the fate that they're laying out for us with social credit scoring like they do in China, cybernetic organisms flying over our head, watching our every move, robocops at our door, knocking down our door if we don't comply, RFID chipping of anybody who doesn't accept a vaccine, or if you do accept a vaccine, RFID chipping as well, arrest and sent to FEMA camps if we don't comply. That's the future of a new America if we don't do anything, because the two parties we currently have are working hand in hand with a group of secret monetary interests who are willing to fund their reelection. And the fact that we don't have a third party really is the presiding fact is that we're the only people that could actually question the corruption that's out there. The people that are currently corrupt won't question the corruption. The Democrats won't reveal that a lot of their funding comes from foreign countries. They won't even make a big deal about people like Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell getting funded from Russian oligarchs, which they should do, especially going into the Senate this week. We'll probably be looking at an impeachment vote from the Senate. The Democrats don't want to expose their hand because they're getting money from oligarchs around the world too. And therein lies the problem. Only a third party could stop this type of corruption and prevent this dystopian state that's headed our way. And we can build a new America that will be positive for the country, that will be much better, offering people low-cost health care, whereas the current system constantly rips us off, giving people $500 a month. Anybody who's not collecting money right now through Social Security or disability would get $500 a month with this plan. All U.S. citizens over 18 or over. It would give people a chance to get more independent from their parents, especially if their parents don't have a lot of money. And it would offer people a basic income like veterans who right now have nothing. 35% of our veterans are homeless, and the Democrats don't have a solution like we do. Now, I'm probably the only one standing after the Democrats pretty much rule out Andrew Yang and Elizabeth Warren. And I'll be the only one standing offering a universal income, universal basic income. And that to me is significant as we head toward the election. We have to look at the fact that I'm the one who came up with the idea for America, the first to implement it in my book, Hybrid Capitalism, and a way to get people a little bit more money for the retail sector to grow too. I'll talk about the $500 a little bit later. So we've got a lot of positives. So a new America is what we make it. That's the fact. We have to decide, are we going to make it a new America, a better America? Because it's going to be a new America whether we like it or not. Don't ever criticize my wardrobe here. No, that's a bannable offense. I'll mute you now, but next time don't ever criticize my wardrobe. This wardrobe has been honed and fixed in time and space. I've been spending years developing this. Yeah, it took me years to shop at thrift stores to get coats like this for $5. And I have to wear certain things on certain days. I'm a person who's a creature of habit in a way. I want you to know that I'm relatively predictable, despite the fact that I seem a little bit out there taking on conspiracy theories every night. Yeah. $5 is $5. I mean, that's $5, no matter how you look at it. I hope they addressed Vince Vaughn shaking hands with Donald Trump last night at the BCS National Championship game. I don't know if they're going to address that. Does that even matter? Yeah, Vince Vaughn shaking hands with Donald Trump, is that an important issue for you? Your dad owns your own practice and he says he's not making enough? He needs higher medical prices? Tell your dad he'll have a job working for the mobile medical system as a stationary doctor at the VA. And he'll be making $150,000 a year guaranteed. And he won't have to pay for medical malpractice or office help or anything. $150,000 a year as a doctor at all our VA facilities. That's a salary that is guaranteed, and he doesn't have to think about anything. Now, if your dad's not making enough to make $150,000, then yeah, how come he's making more than that now and he's still broke? He's got a problem with his spending. He probably has a gambling addiction, and Vito is probably saying, "Hey, you're either going to work on my leg or you're going to have to pay the bill, Mr. So-and-so," you know? Hey, well, I want everyone to know that we're on it. We're stopping the Russian influence over our election. I was the first person that talked about impeachment at a high level. Before he even was elected, I said Donald Trump would be impeached, and I was right, and he was impeached. We are fully aware of his connection to Vladimir Putin, who's using him as a puppet for his secret motivation. Putin himself has some big problems. He has to threaten people. He has to run around threatening everybody with his supersonic or hypersonic weaponry, with his underwater missile system that can deliver a payload, a nuclear payload, to any one of our coastlines and destroy it. He needs to tell people that. Yeah, well, a lot of malpractice insurance is really hurting doctors, so that's why I'm offering the $150,000 a year, no questions asked. You won't have to bother with malpractice. We'll cover it under our national insurance program. That's my goal. Greta is going to be very upset again. The first Philippine volcano is happening. Yeah. We can't control carbon pollution on Earth. We know that because volcanoes erupt whether we like it or not. And Greta acts like we're all to blame because we have flatulence or something. Here is a chemical plant explosion in Tarragona, Spain. Okay. This is bad for the environment, yeah. Are we looking at it? I'm not getting the explosion part, but whatever. Oh, there it is. Wow. Is it amazing? A massive explosion in Spain. Yeah, that's bad for air pollution. Good point. First one. Okay, well, thanks for the first information just coming out at Nacio Digital. January 14th. Just happened, folks. So, you need to park your boat for high tide? Oh, okay. Yeah, you got to watch out for the winter weather. Okay. Yeah, well, I know that Michael Flynn is being literally harassed by William Barr now. It makes no sense, and Michael Flynn is now trying to say he's innocent 2 weeks before his sentencing. And at this point, I don't know what to make of it other than Michael Flynn admitted to certain wrongdoing that led to the arrest and conviction of many people in the Trump administration working with Russia. What gets me about this is William Barr now wants to impose a 6-month sentence on Michael Flynn, when William Barr wrote a 19-page letter to Rod Rosenstein asking us not to investigate Michael Flynn, which implicates William Barr, in my opinion, that he was trying to subvert an investigation into Russian meddling in the election. I believe Flynn was framed, and that's why the recent threat of 6 months jail is being used as a pressure to keep him from telling about other people, including the president. I believe what's going on is William Barr is muscling Michael Flynn right now to keep him from telling true tales, the truth about Donald Trump's involvement. That's what I think's happening. A teenage babysitter laughs as a toddler vapes and posts the video on Snapchat. I don't really know if I want to see this. Sometimes we get these links out of the blue and I have to watch them just to make sure they're safe to see. 2 teenagers from Pennsylvania were arrested after they allegedly allowed a 2-year-old. A 2-year-old to vape. What were they vaping? Nicotine? The child starts coughing.
I just talked to the mother on that 2-year-old boy seen on a viral video with the vape pen. It's almost unbelievable when you watch that video.
Yeah, tonight 2 teens are facing charges, and Channel 11's Melanie Gillespie is live for us after speaking with that little boy's mother. And Melanie, this took her completely by surprise.
Yeah, David, Peggy, she said she never even knew that this even happened. She said how disturbing watching that video really was. The good news, though, that little boy is doing okay tonight. State police in Indiana told us that it was a safe-to-say tip that actually got them involved in the investigation. Now seen in this now viral video.
But the girl's fine. She was coughing. It was nicotine. Now we go on to a man sentenced to death for farting in a mosque. Farting in a mosque. Yeah, the 2-year-old it wasn't getting high. No, it was a nicotine thing. This man was farting in a mosque and was arrested during Ramadan. A Pakistani judge has sentenced a man to be executed after he was expelled 17 times from 6 different mosques for excessive farting during the period of Ramadan. So farting leads to execution in these Sharia law states. Wow, that's amazing. We better be careful with this concern about farting. It sounds like the Democrats want to charge us for farting as well. No, there's no truth to that about access to the site. No, digital. It's an effort to make everybody censor it at the gateway to the site. That's all it is. If you have a problem getting into the site, just hit refresh. And if you hit it refresh 50 times, sometimes it works. Lots of people are being kept out of the site by Mark. He's already admitted to banning 350 million VPNs from our show. Okay, are we done with the farting story? Great. And the little kid who got to the vape, we're done with that story. Yeah, it's just the news is going to get better. Don't worry, we're getting there. But if you want to live in fear and doom and worry about that constantly, this story will help you. Yeah, keep worrying and keep fearing. The sky is falling, especially since they're dumping chemicals on you. Scientists, ocean warming at the rate of 5 A-bombs per second. Oh my gosh, it's 5 Hiroshima bombs of heat every second. That's how much warming is going on. After analyzing data from the 1950s through 2019, an international team of scientists determined that the average temperature of the oceans in 2019 was 0.075 degrees Celsius higher than 81 to 2010 average. It might not seem significant, but yeah, the joules involved of energy. Calories lead to joules, lead to energy. Yeah, but adding the Hiroshima bomb explosion to the mix is really putting a lot of people in the fear zone. Yeah. Well, I'd be more fearful if the ocean heated up about 5 degrees, not 0.075 in 20 years. If they said 5 degrees, I would be going, yeah, this very likely could be a cataclysmic event. But you notice the scientists don't value the temperatures of the ocean from the 1890s all the way to 1950. Just like they didn't value the temperatures of the planet from the 1890s to the 1950s. Ironically, those global climate change experts, per se, didn't include that information in their studies. But the 1890s were very hot. Temperature of the ocean was very warm. Yet they don't want to include that in their macro study of global climate change. It's ridiculous. 5-degree increase would see fish cooked. Yeah. I don't think so, no. No way. Sorry. I know too much about fish to agree with you. Hi, Ivan. What do you got? Fish can handle various temperature increases, no problem, even in aquariums. It doesn't even bother them. Why don't you get an aquarium and test it out for yourself, Meow TV? But I'm not denying climate change like the Republicans. I believe we're seeing something very similar to climate change. Yeah, I do. I believe that we are seeing an effect which is similar. I call it climate problems, so I don't, make anybody upset. But to me, we're seeing weather modification. Weather modification is climate change. That Arab people are a creation of Jewish and black Ethiopian marriage, true or false? I don't believe that, no. And I don't think it matters either. Technically, Arab people can claim that they are now they're now Jewish if they want. Now that Donald Trump has declared Judaism a nationality, any Arab living in Israel can now claim that they're Jewish. Yeah. Like that even matters. Yeah, and the scissor fight made a good point. Wouldn't the fish just swim to cooler waters? Exactly. Well, I'm not worried about the fish. I'm worried about what is called methylene. At the bottom of the earth, methylene. Yeah, right at the bottom of the ocean. The ocean's bottom. Fish migration is less important to me than methylene. If that reaches 2 or 3 degrees more heat, it will turn into methane. And we'll see massive plumes of methane cover the earth. It may even be as bad as what happened during the time the dinosaurs died. Fukushima fish are already dead. Yeah, they're already gone. Your ancient pirates' heirs say, hey, I believe they do say that. They can swim to cooler waters, but the water pressure in the deeps would kill them. Oxygenation would be less. They will die. Well, they're already dying right now. Yeah, I'm not trying to undermine your argument, but our intertidal zones were so bad recently in California that it cannot even supply enough food for 70 whales to survive. In 2019, they found 70 beach whales lying on the beach on the west coast, California, Oregon, and Washington, and British Columbia. Yeah. 70. That's a lot of big whales who can't eat because all the intertidal zones are dying. Is the government out there testing the waters outside California? No. People with meters are, and they get higher levels of radiation when they go out on the beach, but our government isn't taking an active role in what's happening. Ontario had a big, huge, fearful situation at a nuclear plant. It happened a couple days ago. Some people say this is a cover-up. False alarm at the Ontario nuclear plant prompts surge in iodine pill orders. So people around Ontario are ordering iodine pills thinking that they're getting some real radiation from what they thought was something serious. They placed more than 32,000 orders for iodine pills in the past 2 days, following a false alarm about an incident at Pickering Nuclear Generation Station. They're normally about 100 to 200 orders per month, but they got 32,000 orders right away for iodine. What the iodine does is it supplants what is in your thyroid, preventing radiated material from going through your thyroid. Are all living things meant to caress Earth's surface? Depends on if they're living.
豆儿，我跟你讲，你现在丑的已经没谁了，真的没谁了。
I'm sorry, but I don't like to see animal torture on my screen. Tying up a monkey and placing a wig on its head it's not suitable, it's not ethical. Yeah. So I've no news about the Pickering Nuclear Generation Station having any leaks, but the leak was pretty bad, they said. And then they said, oh, we're just kidding, sorry. We don't have that picture. Yeah, I've never got a picture of AOC doing that. Oh yes, I heard about that. Thank you, Mr. Bill. We covered the Gwyneth Paltrow candle that smells like a vagina story the other day. Boy, we're really hitting the truth today, aren't we? Isn't it funny how all these stories seem like diversions from the truth? Yeah. Gwyneth Paltrow is selling a candle she says smells like her vagina. It costs $75 and it's sold out within hours. How many perverts in Hollywood would go buy that? Ever wanted to get to know Gwyneth a little better? Here's your chance. The 47-year-old actress and entrepreneur and victim of Harvey Weinstein created a candle that says smells like her vagina. No, we're not kidding. It started as a joke, but the more she talked about it, the more she built this whole thing. It's sold out within hours. So the perfumer, Douglas Little, said to the candle's creator, "I love natural perfume materials because of their wonderfully raw aspects. I want to smell traces of the plant's origin, elements of the soil, bits of the leaves and stems." Yeah. This is also not the first time that Paltrow makes news with her private parts. In 2016, the actress famously declared she regularly steams her vagina. Well, great. Steam as a cleansing agent, that's very beautiful. I have a feeling that Harvey Weinstein had an effect on her somehow. You know, don't you think that women who've gone through some trauma end up acting out over time? She could probably star in the vagina monologues with her candles burning in the background, you know. She might want to start her career on Broadway or something. Well, if I came out saying, "I've got a candle that smells like my penis," can you imagine? I mean, how weird is that, really, when you think about it? I'm trying to put my mind in her headspace. She's trying to empower women and their vagina. Well, of course you would buy one, but that's not my point. She's trying to make money on the side. I mean, I always liked Gwyneth Paltrow, not in a, sexy kind of way, like, "Hey, baby." More like, what a beautiful woman, and it's kind of changing my perspective of her. It's kind of like when you realize that Miley Cyrus wasn't the girl next door, that she had posed butt naked all over the internet and did some pretty nasty things with her body. Now I realized Miley Cyrus wasn't the girl next door, I'm sure a lot of you would buy everything from me, but I'm not here to sell things because I'm not materialistic. If I was here to profit from myself, I would be soliciting you for donations, and clearly many of you don't want to donate, so it's not a big deal. And you don't have money anyway, I know that. Pretty soon all your money will be, pretty much wrapped up in bad investments. Anyway, I'm out on a limb by saying that we are being sprayed like insects, and that is the truth. And I don't mean to reiterate that on a nightly basis, but it's pretty obvious. It doesn't take a lot to verify what's going on above us. Look at the spray that surrounds us. This was 2012, January 4th. But it's going on all over the place. They're dumping chemicals through specially designed nozzles in the backs of planes. And they want us all to believe this is perfectly safe. Oh, and they're not spraying us according to them. I'm sorry, but this is weather modification and climate change. So they're doing to us what they claim that natural carbon pollution is doing to us. No, they're purposely altering the environment. Purposely. That's why they're doing it. Then they want to tax us for it. And that's the truth. This carbon point legislation that Greta is pushing, all the people behind her are pushing, George Soros, the Agenda 2030 people at the UN, they want to come up with a monopoly game so that we'll all get sucked dry of whatever last dollars we have, so that they can then somehow maybe fix the thing. Best estimates show that carbon point legislation and cap and trade will reduce carbon emissions by about 17% by 2030. That's if everybody participates, and right now only the countries that really want freebies are participating in carbon point legislation. So the UN can't even sell it to the vast quantity of major superpowers or even big nations. India won't buy into it, China won't buy into it, the US won't buy into it, and they keep wanting to kick this dead monopoly game around, asking us to give money. And we didn't cause this pollution problem, the industrialists did. They're the ones that are spraying us like insects right now, claiming it's our fault. You see what they're doing? They're trying to create climate change so rapidly that we have to say, "Oh, the sky is falling, we're going to have to tax everybody," and then they rip us off again. Plus, they're inflating money, which is a hidden tax, which is the truth is, every time the value of money goes down, you're getting taxed. When they print up money at the government, there's a hidden tax. It's screwing you over there too. Then you look at the chemicals they're putting in the air, that's causing pollution problems in your body. And then that costs you to go to the doctor and spend money and lose all your income and your whole entire house, and everything's all sucked up into this vortex of greed. And all the people that are running the show around the world are the greediest scumbags on earth. I function on that precipice. On that premise, rather. I am on a precipice, though. I'm one of the few guys out there that believes greed is dominating the entire economy and our country. All I'm saying is that the world, the consumer model, honestly, is here to stay, whether you like it or not. We can't control the fact that we all need things. We all do. It's natural. And it's natural for you to want to improve your life and improve your world for your family and to leave your family a little nest egg. Greed works. It's not good, though. It may be good to certain people in movies like Michael Douglas in that movie. But no, greed to me is not good. It works, though. And it's the working formula for all of us to keep trying to improve ourselves. And it helps the capitalist system. It engenders innovation. It helps people keep a job. It makes you want to do better. But many of you don't even have that anymore. Some of you just say, I don't really care about greed. I just want a safe place to live, enough low-cost electricity and fresh water to drink. And you don't want too much now. And there's a growing class of people that are definitely sustainable. I eat avocados every day, yes. I had one avocado today. Or a half an avocado. But, many people are kind of like me. They just want to have a decent life and not worry too much about gaining more and more and more and more and more. But the people at the top who've attained a lot of money, believe it or not, they want more. I know that sounds hard to believe for you and I, average people, but those people want more. I'll bet Jeff Bezos wants $200 billion. His $125 billion he has after the divorce, where I think he took too much from his wife personally. But he still probably wants $200 billion. They all want more. Even you, Super Saver, who claimed he made $4 million threatening my life 25 times in the show, and then turned his money into $8 million, then last week said he doubled it to $20 million. I believe you said that. You even want more money. Yeah. After committing felony, like threatening to kill me and then getting all that money from that person who gave you that money. I can't even believe you're in the show. It's amazing. Ivan. Flu leaves 4-year-old Iowan girl blind. Really? Okay. You forgot the H on that, but let me paste it in. You can have stoma talk here. Yeah, I don't mind. Anita can have her talk about stoma. I don't care what Anita has to say. She's one of our few chatters that chat well into the evening. She's certainly capable of talking about her personal life if she so chooses. And I don't have any limitations on what you can say here about that. As long as you're not offensive in a way that would be described as obscene. Okay. All right, thanks for telling us about your personal life still report. Now he's talking about his body habits, yeah. Okay, so flu leaves a 4-year-old Iowa girl blind. The season's flu strains are hitting children particularly hard. According to the Centers for Disease Control, you mean the people that give us tainted vaccines with neuromeningitis and neuroencephalitis in it? Oh, okay, they're saying that we have tainted flus now. The people that have given us vaccines with tainted problems. So a 4-year-old girl in Iowa who didn't get vaccinated this season was left blind after getting the flu. And we want to make her the poster child of blindness. I'm so sorry that happened. And the CDC is claiming this is all because she didn't take a vaccine. Wow. Well, the CDC could clean up their act and fix their own vaccines. That'd be great.
Case of the flu being blamed for leaving a 4-year-old girl in Iowa blind. Jay DeLucia was caught the flu just before Christmas. She eventually developed swelling of the brain that caused her to lose her vision. Doctors won't know if the loss is permanent for up to 6 months. Jade's parents say their daughter got the flu vaccine last March, so they thought that she was protected. But doctors say it is critical to get the vaccine before each flu season. Jade.
Oh, wait a second. That girl had a flu vaccine in her in March. We don't know if that that virus didn't mutate in her own body and cause her blindness. Wow. They just admitted she had a flu vaccine earlier. We don't know that didn't cause her blindness. I have personal information about this. I know, it's very sad. When I was growing up, I had a cousin of mine who had a vaccine that was tainted with a type of, it was tainted with a certain virus in it that caused Parkinson's of the eye. I can't explain it other than we didn't know where it came, but it came right after the vaccine. And she developed Parkinson's of the eye, which inevitably caused her optic nerve to deteriorate, and she ended up having to take steroids. And to keep that from spreading throughout her body, the steroids prevented it, but they ended up killing her, weakening her immune system, and she died. My cousin. Beautiful girl. Beautiful girl. One of the nicest people I've ever met in my life. I'm getting sad thinking about it. Sarah's here. Another one of the nicest people I've ever met in my life. Sarah, I'm so happy to have you in the show because you are really a gift to mankind, and everyone should get a chance to meet you every night. I know the world appreciates you. The police won't say Prince Andrews is this or that. Okay. That's a pretty cool sweater. She's had this since I met her 20 years ago.
I got this when my family decided to move across country and we stopped in the desert.
Oh, that's cool. So it's kind of a Native American history attached to it.
Yeah.
Now, I must touch on this story, and then I'm going to step out because there's not much to this story. As you know, Prince Andrew doesn't want to talk about how he could have a picture taken with Virginia Giuffre. Well, police won't say where Prince Andrew's guards were on the night he's accused of sex with a teen. And when he talked about this, yeah, I'll get back to this a little later, okay? I don't think it's appropriate right now to talk about that. I am going to be getting a little bit of reheated food going, and I'll be back in a bit. Push and Toe says hi. Thanks for the links. I'll be back.
Oh, bottom. Yes. Okay. I'm going to start up the YouTube chat as I normally do. So if you're here on YouTube, I guess you'll have to just wait till 6:30 every night when I come in to check the chat.
Oh, could you hit the record button?
Oh,
Is
sure.
the record button not on? Okay, I'll do it when I get back.
Yeah, I'll just do it when you. Yeah, you can just do it when you
I'll
get
do it
back.
when I get back.
Okay. All right. Okay, there we go. All right. At least he's got the Twitch. He does have 4 out of 5 places we're broadcasting. He has 4 of the 5 chat rooms open, so that's good. Hello, Peter Gevers and Tahir. And okay, and then iVlog is going. Hello everybody at iVlog, Max.credit and Tiddly D, Add the One, Scissor Fight. Hey Dave, have a great stream. Thank you. Universe of Memes over at YouTube said that. Daryl, you know, to each his own. Sometimes I think I need to be on a diet, and sometimes I do try to cut back. Like, I haven't been getting as many pizzas as I used to. Am I going to watch the Democratic debate tonight? I suppose if you give me a live stream, I'll watch it. You need a laugh after today? You want to see a full rotation of the sweater? Okay. It's just like normal on the back, but the sleeves are pretty cool. Yeah, I think we all need to cut back on carbs. I think that would be a good thing. Let me see if I can... where did the belt go? Yeah, I lost the belt a few years ago, quite a few years ago. I don't still have the belt. Yeah, the pattern continues on the bottom of the sweater. It's kind of cute. All right. It's somewhere there in Skull Island where you are. Okay, good to know. Okay, so it's bad for him to have it. They
National Committee. Mr.
I'll
Chairman,
hear
let's
what
put
it
up that
is later,
picture
I
once
think.
again. The 6 candidates will be on that
I
stage.
think that's fine.
People are
It's
asking the
somebody-
Democratic Party, what's wrong with
think
this
it's
picture?
from my school,
No candidates of color. Former Massachusetts Governor Deval Patrick, who is still running, he writes, surely the leadership of the Democratic Party must now see that the criteria chosen have not served to demonstrate to Democratic voters or the nation the breadth and depth of the diverse talent.
Decisions in boardrooms and in committee rooms in Washington are being made not based on what's best
Thank you,
for
Mayor
us,
Buttigieg.
but based on their own game.
Vice President Biden. Senator Sanders has said Donald Trump will, quote, eat your lunch for voting yes on what he calls trade. Why are you the best candidate to take on President Trump?
There will be no trade agreement signed
David
in my
Sponheim
administration
is the
without
best
environmental.
candidate to take on Donald Trump. I'll just say that. So all of you, I would highly suggest that you vote for David Sponheim rather than any of these Democratic nominees. I'm trying to watch it on CNN, but it seems like it's not. Oh, there we go. Maybe it's just because I opened it up too big or something, and I'm streaming out, so.
This was weird. I remember when we bought this. It was open.
Oh yeah.
Did we ever drink out of it? It was in the
No.
cupboard in the shelf. And it was
I
open.
don't think I did, but you can just put it in the.
It smells okay.
Yeah, just put it in the thing, and I'll drink it once I'm finished with the other stuff. Okay, I'll just watch it. There we go. I might have to zoom in on it, but I don't think I can.
And then they think they're going to get online for a generous federal contract. They've got another thing going. We need some corporate responsibility here, and we need to go to China, Mexico, Vietnam,
Mr.
and
Vice
other low-wage
President, what's
countries.
your response?
We need corporate responsibility, and I agree with that completely. But we also need to have enforcement mechanisms in the agreements we make, enforceable agreements. That's one of the things that has been improved with the trade agreement with Mexico, with the trade agreement with Mexico, and that's what we should be doing. And if we don't set the rules of the road by going out to our partners instead of poking our eye and poking our finger in the eye of all our friends and allies, we make up 25% of the world's economy. We got to bring the other 25% of our allies along with us to set the rules of the road so China cannot continue to abuse their power by stealing our intellectual property and doing all the other things using their corporate state system to our significant disadvantage.
Senator Warren.
You know, our problem is not just
Sorry, I had myself muted. And maybe it's because
we need corporate
I
responsibility.
had
It's been the
myself muted.
structure of how these trade deals have been negotiated. The United States has
But
had a strategy
I don't know
for
what to
decades.
do with that,
And that
Xenia.
strategy has been to have government trade negotiators, a small number, and then surround them with giant multinational corporation lobbyists and corporate executives who whisper in the ears of our negotiators and then get deals cut that are great for the giant multinational corporations, not good for America, not good for American workers, not good for the environment. We need a different approach to trade, and it starts by calling out the corruption of these giant corporations that have cut our trade deals. Everybody wants to get to the American market. And
one of the things that I think we need to address with trade is how much plastic waste is being produced when we create things. And I do have to say, I agree that we shouldn't just base how well we're doing based on our GDP.
On the first day, I would undo Mr. Trump's tariffs. On the first day, I would get rid of his waivers that Senator Klobuchar was referring to oil refiners, so that not having to use corn-based ethanol. In fact, these trade deals have been exactly what Senator Sanders and Warren have been saying, which is that they've been designed to grow the American GDP for the corporations of America, not for the working people of America, and not to protect the climate. So let me say this. I'm the only person on this stage who says climate's my number one priority. I would not sign this deal because if climate's your number one priority, you can't sign a deal, even if it's marginally better for working people, until climate is also taken into consideration. Look, I've got 4 kids between the ages of 26 and 31.
We also need to take in plastic pollution into consideration as well.
You're their generation. I think you would be standing up more. That's why I'm standing up for it. We cannot put climate on the back seat all the time and say, we're going to sign this one more deal, we're going to do one more thing without putting climate first. That's why it's my number one priority. We can do it in a way that makes us richer, but we have to do it.
Mayor Buttigieg, your response?
Well, that's right. This issue's personal for me. It's why we're going to tackle climate from day one. It's why we've got to make sure that we have better answers than we do today. Now, what I've noticed is pretty much all of us propose that we move on from fossil fuels by the middle of the century, starting with actions that we take right now. The question is, how are we going to make sure any of this actually gets done? Because people have been saying the right things in these debates for literally decades. The other day in Winterset, there was a kid at one of my events, raised his hand, and he pointed out that he expects to be here in his 90s in the year 2100. He will sit in judgment over what we do, not just what we on this stage do. Anyone old enough to vote right now, whether we actually put together the national project it will require to meet our climate goals, to act aggressively, not just rejoin in the Paris Climate Accord, that's table stakes, but to actually move on from the fossil-dependent economy we live in today.
But you guys, this is
let's now turn to an issue that's come up in the last 48
Stop
hours.
generating
Senator
so much
Sanders.
plastic.
CNN reported yesterday that, and Senator Warren confirmed in a statement that in 2018 you told her that you did not believe that a woman could win the election. Why did you say that?
Well, as a matter of fact, I didn't say it. And I don't want to waste a whole lot of time on this because this is what Donald Trump and maybe some of the media want. Anybody knows me, knows that it's incomprehensible that I would think that a woman could not be president of the United States. Go to YouTube today. There's a video of me 30 years ago talking about how a woman could become president of the United States. In 2015, I deferred, in fact, to Senator Warren. There was a movement to draft Senator Warren to run for president. And you know what? I stayed back. Senator Warren decided not to run, and I did run afterwards. Hillary Clinton won the popular vote by 3 million votes. How could anybody in a million years not believe that a woman could become president of the United States? And let me be very clear. If any of the women on this stage or any of the men on this stage win the nomination, I hope that's not the case. I hope it's me. But if they do, I will do everything in my power to make sure that they are elected in order to defeat the most dangerous president in the history of our country.
So Senator Sanders, I do want to be clear here. You're saying that you never told Senator Warren that a woman could not win the election.
That is correct.
Senator Warren, what did you think when Senator Sanders told you a woman could not win the election?
I disagreed. Bernie is my friend, and I am not here to try to fight with Bernie. But look, this question about whether or not a woman can be president has been raised, and it's time for us to attack it head on. And I think the best way to talk about who can win is by looking at people's winning record. So, can a woman beat Donald Trump? Look at the men on this stage. Collectively, they have lost 10 elections. The only people on this stage who have won every single election that they've been in are the women, Amy and me. And the only person on this stage who has beaten an incumbent Republican any time in the past 30 years is me. And here's what I know. The real danger that we face as Democrats is picking a candidate who can't pull our party together or someone who takes for granted big parts of the Democratic constituency. We need a candidate who will excite all parts of the Democratic Party, bring everyone in, and give everyone a Democrat to believe in. That's my plan, and that is why I'm going to win.
Senator Klobuchar.
Thank you.
Senator Klobuchar, what do you say to
Thank
people
you, Elizabeth.
who don't? Senator Klobuchar, what do you say?
I would like
Senator
to point
Klobuchar,
out...
let me finish my question.
Oh, okay.
What do you say to people who say...
I thought it was such an open end. I wasn't at the meeting, so I can't...
I guess she likes to talk over people and then she berates them, or that's what I've heard about Klobuchar. Read an article about her from last year that was pretty eye-opening.
That you don't have to be the tallest person in the room. James Madison was 5'4". You don't have to be the skinniest person in the room. You don't have to be the loudest person. You have to be competent. And when you look at the facts, Michigan has a woman governor right now, and she beat a Republican, Gretchen Whitmer. Kansas has a woman governor right now, and she beat Chris Kobach. And her name is, I'm very proud to know her, and her name is Governor Kelly. Thank you. Third, I would add to this, you have to be competent to win, and you have to know what you're doing. And when you look at what I have done, I have won every race, every place, every time. I have won in the reddest of districts. I have won in the suburban areas, in the rural areas. I have brought people with me. That is why I have the most endorsements of current Iowa legislators and former Iowa legislators in this race.
Thank you.
Because I know I bring people with me. And finally, every
Thank you,
single
Senator
person
Klobuchar.
that I have beaten, my Republican opponents, have gotten out of politics for good. And I think that sounds pretty good. I think that sounds pretty good with the guy we have in the White House right now.
Senator Sanders, you can respond.
Well, just to set the record straight, I defeated an incumbent Republican running for Congress.
When?
1990. That's how I won, beat a Republican congressman. Number two, of course.
30 years.
Well, 30 years and excitement and a camp.
So I do think it's the right question. In 2018, we took it and we changed America.
The real issue is who can bring the whole party, one who has the broadest coalition.
Okay, I'm not sure if I know I'm broadcasting on all the different sites, but some people are saying that there's an issue with the drop frames detected at Vaughn, so I'll go off and do that again. And I have some doing that at YouTube as well, but I'm just gonna keep the broadcast going at YouTube and see if that will work. But okay. Anyway, it's interesting how they narrowed it down to only these 6 and didn't include people like chose to no longer include Yang. And yeah. Yeah, it is pretty funny, right, Tiddly D? I find that kind of funny.
Okay. I made you a lovely dinner.
Thank you.
Help yourself to all of whatever you want. Help yourself.
There's some drop frames detected at different places. It might be because I was playing this live CNN debate thing. I don't know why it is. But
Is the debate going on right now?
yeah, it says commercial break in progress. We'll resume momentarily, and then we'll come in, and then you can go live screen if you want. I'll go desktop 2, turn this off, and then you can turn that on and go live.
Okay.
Anyway,
Sounds
if
good.
you even want to.
If we want to, yeah. The debate between Warren and Sanders about whether a woman should be president or not. No, actually, it's more about affluent voters and how they prefer Warren over Bernie. And Bernie saying that he wants to broaden the base with all of his socialist voters. Yeah, people that want a free handout. We're totally frozen on the main page. Okay, let's start again. Let's reboot. We're having major attacks right now. No, I left some for Sarah. I am going to go ahead and drop out of this particular connection. That's not allowed here. We're not allowed to post his picture here. Thank you. Does the president have a pinball machine? No, but we have one at Cool Rock. It's a pretty cool site too. You get a pinball machine and everything. I'm going to show it to you. Is drop frames really, are they really happening here? So should I go ahead and reboot? Sound was great. So there's something wrong with the connection. I think I'm being DDoSed on my VPN. Really? Well, Cool Rock is an online community I created. It's fun, free, and it's private. We're not trying to track you on this. And you can open up the chat shows by enabling Flash. And it is as real time as you can get right now. Flash is way better technology for video than HTML5. Except Flash is discontinuing the service because, number one, they feel that they're moving on. Adobe is. But there were some security issues with Flash, so people didn't really want to use it. But it's still working great. And if you check out our website, you've got all kinds of fun stuff here. At the top of the screen, right here, is this blue button. If you click this, it'll open up Web Oasis, which has a great arcade game on there. Right down on the side in the drop-down menu, you go here and you play the arcade game. And they've got everything now. They've got chess and racing and pinball, slots. If you want to play slots while you're watching our show, you can do that. It's lots of fun. All right, thought I'd show you that. Meanwhile, let's get back to the Prince Andrew story.
Welcome back to the CNN.
Oh, we've got Warren and Sanders clashing. Let's do that first.
Democratic presidential debate live from Drake University in Des Moines, Iowa.
Let's turn to health care, the top issue for Iowa Democrats. Donald Trump is trying to repeal Obamacare, including the protections for pre-existing conditions. We all know that each of you vigorously opposes that. Still, there are some questions about what each of you would do. Senator Sanders, you've consistently refused to say exactly how much your Medicare for All plan is going to cost. Don't voters deserve to see the price tag before you send them a bill that could cost tens of trillions of dollars?
Well, what I will tell you is Medicare for All, which will guarantee comprehensive health care to every man, woman, and child, will cost substantially less than the status quo. Medicare for All will end the absurdity of the United States paying by far the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs and healthcare in general, while we have 87 million uninsured and uninsured and underinsured, and while 30,000 people die each year. Under Medicare for All, one of the provisions we have to pay for it is a 4% tax on income, exempting the first $29,000. So the average family in America that today makes $60,000 would pay $1,200 a year, compared to that family paying $12,000 a year. We save money, comprehensive health care, because we take on the greed and the profiteering and the administrative nightmare that currently exists.
And the nightmare. What is this with this thing he's got going? Frankly, $29,000, this is far too confusing. $1,200 a year for a family of 4 for medical health care? That's a pretty good deal. That's the same deal we're offering, $60 per person per month.
$40 trillion over 10 years. That's doubling the entire federal budget per year. There's a way to do that. The way to do that is to take Obamacare, reinstate, rebuild it, provide a public option, allow Medicare for those folks who want it, and in fact, make sure that we, in the process, reduce the cost of drug prices, reduce the cost of being able to buy into the subsidize it further, and make it available to everyone. Here's the deal. That costs a lot of money. That costs $740 billion over 10 years. I lay out how I pay for that.
Senator Sanders?
Well, first of all, what Joe forgets to say is when you leave the current system as it is, what you are talking about are workers paying, on average, 20% of their incomes for healthcare. That is insane. You got 500,000 people going bankrupt because they cannot pay their medical bills. We're spending twice as much per capita on healthcare as do the people of any other country. Look, we've talked about healthcare for all in this country for over 100 years. Now is the time to take on the greed and corruption of the healthcare industry, of the drug companies, and finally provide healthcare to all through a Medicare for all single-payer program.
And that means giving everyone 7% tax increases and your employer a 7% tax increase, by the way.
Won't be easy, but that is what we have to do.
Go live. We're going live. Let's do it live. All right, it's just taxing.
It's easier for them to pay for their premiums. My own dad, I know when his long-term care insurance ends. And then we have some savings for him. He's in assisted living. He got married 3 times, whole nother story, so there isn't much there.
Wait, Vay, do we need to hear this?
Medicaid, and I've already talked to Catholic Elder Care. They're willing to take him.
Thank you. You can shut up now, Klobuchar.
To make it easier for long-term care. It's not just for seniors.
Thank you, Senator Klobuchar. Shut up, please.
People trying to
Shut
help
up.
their parents.
Senator Warren.
Senator Warren,
So
go ahead.
we need to start with what's happening in America. People are suffering.
People are lying. People are lying about their Cherokee ancestry. People are doing whatever they can to say that they want to be the president by offering unbelievable things endlessly.
Said it's either groceries or this prescription. My approach to this is we've got to get as much help to as many people as quickly as possible.
Well, lady, you need a lot of help. You have a pathological lying problem. You need to get treated by a psychiatrist. Why did you lie about your Cherokee ancestry? And then you got a free education. Oh my God. And then she lied about being pregnant while being a teacher and then getting fired for being pregnant for being a teacher. And there's no proof of that.
I've got a plan to expand healthcare, but let's keep in mind.
Expand healthcare. The cost of healthcare is through the roof. Doctors are ripping us off. You want to expand that?
But we're going to be up against a Republican incumbent who has cut healthcare for millions of people and is still trying to do that. I'll take our side of the argument any day.
You know, I don't take your side of the argument because I don't listen to a person who's a known liar. I'd rather listen to a person who kind of lied, like Joe Biden.
It sets up, it allows all the drug companies, it allows you to Medicare to negotiate with drug companies for the price. It sets a system whereby you cannot raise the price of a drug beyond the cost of medical inflation.
So you're going to adjust your pharmaceutical company. Hi, I'd like to negotiate a better price on my meds. I'm sure they're going to really listen to you. We need to get generic medicine out there. Here he is, Tom Steyer.
So many times. Everybody on this stage believes that affordable health care is a right for every single American. Everybody on this stage knows that Americans are paying twice as much for health care as any other advanced country in the world, and it makes no sense, and the government has to step in. I do happen to agree with Vice President Biden that we should move and develop the Affordable Care Act with a public option. But the real question is this. This is not a new problem. Why do we keep having this conversation? We have a broken government. It has been bought by corporations that include the drug companies, the insurance companies, and the private hospitals. Yep. That's what I'm talking about. How do we get back government of, by, and for the people? How do we actually break the corporate stranglehold on our government so that we can get any of these things passed?
You know, Tom Steyer has... Bernie, shut up. Shut up. Tom Steyer came to our show a couple days ago and really likes our show. Yeah, if it really was him, I don't know. It might have been him. I think that he said, David, I would like you to be my vice president if I win the nomination. I thought that was very bold of him to do that. I agree. Yeah, let's listen to this guy. What's his name? Bernie Sanders, the guy who threw the election to Hillary Clinton last year. Let's listen to him.
It ends out-of-pocket expenses. It takes on the pharmaceutical industry, which in some cases charges us 10 times more for the same prescription drugs sold abroad as sold here.
Yeah.
What we will do through a Medicare for All single-payer program is substantially lower the cost of health care for employers and workers, because we end the $100 billion a year that the healthcare industry makes and the $500 billion a year we spend in administrative, the administrative nightmare of
every time he says
thousands of separate.
Every time he says "yeah" and "nightmare," I get sick. Joe, what do you think? Joe, you seem to be short of words.
I can't talk. What do I do? I can't talk. What do I do?
Let's listen to Ms. Klobuchar.
Pay for it. And I would also note practically that the Affordable Care Act right now is 10 points more popular than the President of the United States.
Oh, bullshit. Everyone knows that everyone loves Medicaid. The average person gets Medicaid. Right now we have Medicaid for all. And I don't think everyone loves the Affordable Health Care Plan. I'm sorry, but a lot of people got ripped off by their health care insurance companies.
In her plan, a plan to actually start taking on the deficit.
I'd like to stop spending that the Democrats are spending too. Why do they keep spending way more than they have to? And what's this overuse of your hands?
Every single plan, capital gains tax going to the personal level, getting rid of the oil giveaways, doing something about the hedge fund loophole. You can go through it and you can get the money to pay for things.
Ms. Klobuchar, your eyebrows are too dark. Who is your makeup artist, Ms. Klobuchar? Oh, and Mr. Buttplug, go ahead. We want to hear your point.
Don't want it and force them to pay for it. How is that truth in advertising?
Well, it's making sure that there is no such thing as an uninsured American. Look, the individual mandate was an important part of the ACA because the system doesn't work if there are free riders. What I'm offering is a choice.
Oh, come on. There's going to be free riders no matter what. You got illegal aliens sucking off their government tit now, thanks to you Democrats.
That they want in order to deliver health care for all. And my plan...
Mr. Buttgig, if you're a homosexual who's been violently raped by 17 black men and have extreme rectal bleeding and you have no insurance, what would happen to you?
Added to the deficit, $1 trillion under this president. And it's why everything I put forward, from Medicare for all who want it, to the historic investments we're going to make in infrastructure, to dealing with climate change, is fully paid for. When it comes to healthcare, you can do it in 2 moves. Of course, my plan costs $1.5 trillion over a decade. No small sum, but not the 20, 30, 40.
Oh, come on. You're some sort of a public relations guy who can't talk about the firm that put you up to this. Exactly what's going on with your life?
the corporations and the wealthy that didn't even need it.
Senator Warren.
Well, you said a lot about
Started this
nothing
by
there.
Talking about 36 million Americans, including Americans with insurance, who just can't even afford to have a prescription filled.
Well, why don't you give them a little bit of your $12.5 million in net worth you acquired by claiming you're Cherokee Indian and getting a free education, huh? That would be helpful. Why don't you and your husband donate some of that money? What's with her head? I mean, she keeps shaking her head like she's making a point or something.
Cost so much less. Because by themselves, they're not going to be enough to cover prescriptions for 36 million people who can't afford to get them filled.
No kidding. That's why I have a generic medicine plan, which will lower the cost of healthcare substantially for everybody who wants to pay generic medicine. Some people like special medicine, other people don't. Yeah.
Nothing in taxes, we can have them pay. And we can go after the corporate tax cheats. And when we do that, we have enough money to provide health care for all our people. Yes, we build on the Affordable Care Act, but where we end up is we offer health care to all of our people, and we can offer it at no cost or low cost to all of them.
Mayor Buttigieg.
It's just not true that the plan I'm proposing is small. We got to move past a Washington mentality that suggests that the bigness of plans only consists of how many trillions of dollars they put through the Treasury. That the boldness of a plan only consists of how many Americans it can alienate. This would be a game changer. This would be the biggest thing we've done to American healthcare in a half century.
You go,
Let's measure
dude.
the effects
You go,
of our
girl.
plans based on what they would do in our everyday life.
Pete's taking Elizabeth down. Yeah, he's showing her a new level. Pete's just destroying Pocahontas.
Make it free, a $250 monthly cap. And here's why it's got to be monthly. You ever been in that situation or known somebody who finds that they've got to defer a procedure or delay filling a prescription to try to have it happen in the right month? Because of when your out-of-pocket cap hits? It makes no sense medically because most of us don't experience the economy on an annual basis. Our bills don't come in every year, they come in every month. Same with our paychecks, bi-weekly or monthly. That's why we set this up in a way to solve the problem without running up 20, 30, 40 trillion dollar
Senator
bills.
Warren, your response?
Look, the numbers that the mayor's offering just don't add up. The average family in America last year paid $12,000 in some combination of deductibles and cope.
Oh, bullshit. The average family in America doesn't have insurance, you stupid, mindless Midwestern idiot. Not that I don't like Midwestern idiot. I think there are a lot of intelligent Midwestern idiots out there. But this one's really not that smart on the uptake. Why she's working on the East Coast, I don't know. She should go back to her farm town in Oklahoma. All right, so we've got people who somehow think that the average person in America pays $12,000 a year in medical insurance. How many of you pay $12,000 a year in medical insurance or more? Press 1. I'm open to listening to how many people here are even insured. But if you're paying over 12, yes, I read the chat, U.S. rope bunnies, yeah. You're a pathological liar? You do? Okay. Well, you're lying automatically. You do? APD at Bridgewater? Okay. You pay $42,000 a year and you got hosed by Affordable Care, you're a pathological liar. Maxed out credit does because he died for 18 minutes and came back to life. Hang on, Klobuchar's back. We got to listen to Amy. She might start an argument with her staff.
A year that your premiums will be cut in half, which is what the nonprofit public option will do. And if you talk Mayor Buttigieg,
Oh my God, she's using my wording, nonprofit public option. Okay, Klobuchar's got my idea. Good.
get it done, that would allow Medicare to finally negotiate and lift the ban that Big Pharma got into law that says they can't negotiate for better prices for our seniors. I will get it done.
Senator Sanders, coming to you now. CNN reached out to Iowa Democratic voters for their most pressing questions.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Here in Des Moines writes, Des Moines is an
I don't hear you too well there. After my heart attack, I'm not hearing you real well. Speak up.
What happens to all the jobs and the livelihoods of the people that live in insurance towns like Des Moines?
We build into our Medicare for All
A plan to steal money from every taxpayer everywhere and every time. It would be a nightmare if we didn't take care of all of you who are taxpayers.
and job training for those people.
You know, I can't handle him. I want to retch when I hear his socialist opinions of Medicare for all. Same with Warren. My God, we've got Medicaid for all, everybody. And I'm here to talk about that. And yeah, you're right. Mad Dog says, I didn't come here to listen to the Democratic debate. We have a thing called Medicaid for all right now. And I'm offering that to everybody in the United States. And it won't cost you taxpayers any more than you're already paying. Okay? Problem solved. Medicaid for all. Thank you very much, David. It's not fear. Here's Tom Steyer. He was in a room last night, 2 nights ago.
Complicated problem. Between what Senator Warren and Senator Sanders said, it's clear. There are two problems. We're spending way too much because corporations own the system.
I agree.
And we're not negotiating against those corporations.
Good.
And we've given tax cuts to the richest Americans and the biggest corporations for decades.
Right.
That's all this is. We have corporations who are having their way with the American people, and people are suffering. Senator Warren is right. This is cruelty for money. In order to break this, we're going to have to break the corporate stranglehold and solve both the tax and the negotiating problem. That's why I'm for term limits. We need to redo Washington, D.C. and actually take back the government.
I'm sorry, Tom. You're speaking the truth. We don't want to hear from you, Tom. You're speaking the truth. Now, Joe, go ahead. Say some lies.
Recent time was us being able to do in our administration with five Democratic presidents.
I can't talk. What do I do?
Couldn't get done. And that is pass Obamacare. It was a big deal. Secondly, I would argue that the way you control drug prices is you limit what they can charge for those prices. You don't have to pay the price. Limit what they can charge. If in fact they charge more than we set the price for, they can in fact people can import from abroad, assuming that it is safe. We in fact, it's only yellow, okay, and we can in fact do all of this and still provide people the option to stay. The roughly 150 to 160 million Americans who like the negotiated plan they have with their employers. If they don't like it or the employer gets rid of it.
I'm sorry, this is ridiculous. 70 million people in America are still without health care. And these people act like average people pay $12,000 a year for health care. I mean, what the hell, man? 70 million people have no health care in America, and they don't want to even go to the doctor because they're afraid they're going to be billed. These Democrats aren't even connecting with the population, people. Cool Rock is better on Opera or Chrome. Yeah, try Opera or Chrome as your browser. Go ahead. Wolf Blitzer. How the heck did he keep his job all these years?
So let's do this both ways. What I also have said is I'm just going to use the power that is available, and I will do what a president can do all by herself on the very first day, and that is lower the prices of certain prescription drugs. I will lower the price of insulin. We already have the legal authority with the president to do that. President just hasn't picked up and used it. I will lower the price of EpiPens, of HIV, AIDS drugs. That's going to bring a lot of relief to a lot of families immediately. But you know, there are a whole lot of drugs, about 90% of drugs, that are not under patent. They're generic drugs. But the drug industry has figured out how to manipulate this industry to keep jerking the prices up and up and up.
Oh, you saying a word, jerking the prices up and up. Jerking. We're using the word jerking. Boy, she uses some hometown words, doesn't she? She sounds like she's a pumped up idiot professor from Oklahoma who got a free degree from the U.S. United States of America. She's jerking up those prices.
This is a way to make markets work, not to try to move away from the market. You don't have to even use price controls. The whole idea behind it is get some competition out there so the price of these drugs that are no longer under patent drops where it should.
Senator Klobuchar, do you believe that
Calm down.
Manufacturing drugs?
I am open to looking at it, but first, number one, I mentioned the Medicare negotiation. Number two, I have a plan, 137 things I found that a president can do herself in the first 100 days with.
Okay, 136 things a president can do in the first 100 days. Wipe your nose, kiss your ass, and what else?
from other countries. Bernie and I had an amendment on this. We got 14 Republican votes on it. It was at midnight. They might have not known what they were voting for, but we got that.
Sure.
I now have an actual bill with Senator Grassley that does.
Mrs. Klobuchar, why did your entire staff leave you? Because they felt offended by your behavior early in the election process? Why did they all abandon you? Because they said you were a very mean person? Hey, I got to say, Tom Steyer's in the race, but where's Andrew Yang? Andrew Yang, rather. Yeah, where's Andrew Yang? Where did Andrew go? Mr. Andrew, go ahead.
And that's especially acute in rural Iowa. We have another question from an Iowa Democratic voter. Mayor Buttigieg, this is for you. Tiffany from Clive writes, as a young mom, I had to quit a job I loved because childcare costs were taking up 2/3 of my income. Many families don't have the option of quitting a job because that little bit of income is needed. That leads to families using whatever care they can find, and sometimes the results are deadly, as we've seen in Iowa over the last few years. How will you prioritize accessing quality, affordable childcare in your first 100 days in office?
It makes no sense for childcare to cost 2/3 of somebody's income. We've got to drive it to 7% or below, and 0 for those families.
I think child care should cost, you should get a kickback from the government for having kids, don't you? Yeah, I think he's all wrong there. Yang is being racistly prejudiced against in this entire debate. Andrew Yang is being treated as it's been racism against Asian people in this debate, clearly. Yeah, what happened to, many of you like Tulsi Gabbard. What's going on? What happened to her? Did she have to go back to her doctor to get her transgender, was that happening? Okay, do we have to listen to this fudge packer anymore? Let's move on. And please don't use that word here. Fudge packer. Thank you. Yeah, you can't afford to have children? Don't have them. Don't give people money for kids. Yeah, but make sure that the cost of raising a child is affordable with virtually a free education and free health care, obviously, for Medicaid recipients. We already have Medicaid for all. What is the problem here? Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. I can't talk to this old spinster from the woods of Oklahoma. I'm sorry, but you may be married, lady, but you seem like the ice queen to me. Oh, yeah, I heard that Tulsi Gabbard was declared a Russian spy by Hillary. Yeah, that killed her opportunity to actually run.
Ready to quit my job. And I think about how many women of my generation just got knocked off the track and never got back on. How many of my daughter's generation get knocked off the track and don't get back on. How many mamas and daddies today.
She's so emotionally distressed all the time. You notice that? She's like constantly emotionally distressed. Do we really need a woman who's suffering from post-traumatic, post-menopause, post-PMS syndrome? Because clearly she is.
And 4-year-old in America, and stop exploiting the people who do this valuable work. Largely black and brown women. We can raise.
Oh, come on. Claiming black and brown women. I mean, what is the difference between a black or a brown woman or a white and a pink person? I mean, come on, playing the race card again?
In our economy.
Senator Sanders, will your universal child care program be free for everyone regardless of income?
Yeah. Let me pick up on this child care thing. Every psychologist in the world knows 0 through 4 are the most important years of human life, intellectually and emotionally.
Clearly it was for you. You know, he didn't work till he was 45 years old. Yeah. He didn't even have a job till he was 45 years old. I was practically done working at 45 years old. It's amazing to me how this guy's even running. And you know what? He's not kidding. He still doesn't have a job. Exactly. I don't use it in an unnecessary hotel hotels. I have a tan skin. Okay? Do you mind?
This country,
Thank
we cannot
you,
have
Senator.
high quality,
Vice President
affordable
Biden, I'm coming
childcare.
to you now.
That is wrong.
Vice President Biden, infant care is more expensive than in-state public college tuition in more than half the country. Do you support free universal infant care?
It should be free universal infant care, but here's the deal. You know, I was a single parent too. When my wife and daughter were killed, my two boys I had to raise. I was a senator, a young senator. I just hadn't been sworn in yet. And I was making $42,000 a year. I commuted every single solitary day to Wilmington, Delaware, over 500.
I drove a mile to work every day. Of course, we all commuted every day to work, you idiot.
Childcare. It was beyond my reach to be able to do it. And that's why there's several things we do. When I triple the amount of money for Title I schools, every child 3, 4, and 5 years old will, in fact, have full schooling. They'll go to school and after-school programs, which will release some of the burden. Secondly, I think we should have an $8,000 tax credit, which would put 7 million women back to work. They could afford to go to work and still care for their children as an $8,000 tax credit. I also believe that we should, in fact, for people who, in fact, are not able to afford any of infant care, to be able to get that care. But Bernie's right. We have to raise the salaries of the people who are doing the care. And I provide for that as well. My time is up, I know, but I'm not going to go over like everybody.
Mayor Buttigieg.
What do I do?
Mayor Buttigieg, if you had to take a religious test, would you describe yourself as Christian, atheist, or gay?
Mayor Buttigieg, higher education is another huge expense for families. You oppose free public college for all because you don't want to make it, quote, free for the kids of millionaires. But lots of public services are available to the kids of rich people, like libraries and public schools. Why do you draw the line at public colleges and universities?
Well, it's simple. We expect and hope for everyone to get through 12th grade. It's not the same for college. Now, again, I don't want cost ever to be a barrier to somebody seeking to attend college. And under my plan, it won't be. Matter of fact, for the first 80% of Americans by income, it is free at public colleges. But
bull crap. He just said 80% of us can get a free education at public colleges. What a crock of crap. That is just a total lie. That's not a fact. Most people can't get a free education unless they're Asian minority or not even Asians. Asians are having a hard time getting a free education. Yeah, notice how I didn't group Asians as minorities?
everybody, whether you go to college or not, making sure that Americans can thrive, investing in infrastructure, and something that hasn't come up very much tonight but deserves a lot of attention, poverty. You know, the Poor People's Campaign is marching on Iowa right now, calling on us to talk about this issue more. They are driven by their faith. I think because even though in politics we're supposed to talk middle class, they know there's no scripture that says, as you've done unto the middle class, so you've done unto me.
See, he's starting to use scripture in his speeches. It's crazy. This guy is an open fudge packer who wants to use scripture to defend his arguments. It's crazy.
Intuition of public colleges is the best use of those scarce taxpayer dollars.
So look.
Well, I don't want to hear an old woman from the Midwest who got a free education by lying about being a Cherokee Indian. So I'm going to mute her for now and put her in her little box that she probably came from. Anyway, it bothers me that Pete Buttigieg uses religion all the time. Yeah, and he himself is an open gay man, which does not jive with biblical scripture. I don't know where it says in the Bible that thou shalt lay with the same gender and fornicate. You need Larry Sinclair? Okay, let's take a break. Go ahead.
Where Senator Obama exited the limousine with $250, which was provided to him by me. Returned a short while later with an 8-ball of cocaine, which he gave to me. I did ingest a couple of lines of cocaine, and shortly thereafter, Senator Obama produced a glass cylinder pipe and packet of crack cocaine from his pocket. Obama then smoked the crack cocaine. I performed fellatio on Senator Obama in the limousine during the time Senator Obama was smoking crack cocaine, after which I had the driver take me to my hotel, the Comfort Suites, Gurnee, Illinois.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Larry Sinclair. Now back to Amy Klobuchar of Minnesota. Go ahead, Amy. We're all listening.
We are going to have open 100,000 jobs for nursing assistants. We, as my union friends know, we're going to have over 70,000 openings for electricians.
Talk is cheap. Boy, these Democrats love to promise things, don't they? Boy, they've screwed up every election. They still promise us these things.
through 12. It should go into free 1- and 2-year degrees, like my dad got, like my sister got.
Thank you,
and
Senator
then we should
Klobuchar.
double the Pell Grants because we're going to need 4 years.
Look at that. She's using my rhetoric, double the Pell Grants. This is what I've been talking about for the past 8 years, double the Pell Grants. She's using my wording. I cannot believe or handle this conversation anymore. I'm sorry. We can't, well, Tom, I like you. Let's listen to Tom.
I believe that the income inequality in this country is unbearable, unjust, and unsupportable.
I agree.
And the redistribution of wealth to the richest Americans from everyone else has to end. And I proposed a wealth tax almost a year and a half ago to start to address it and to raise some of the money that we need. But I want to go beyond this and go back to this question about education, because we're talking a lot about college. But in fact, if you talk about the Poor People's Campaign, you have to realize that for the youngest kids, they are getting an education that's relative to the taxes in their neighborhoods. We need to redistribute money so every kid has a chance, so we're not legislating inequality for the next generation, and so we actually invest in every single kid, specifically poor kids, specifically black kids, specifically brown kids. We need to start using the money dramatically more for that.
We'll be back with more from CNN.
Okay, well, I like Tom Steyer. He came in our room. He was the only one to actually join our show and talk about his plan. And as much as I don't like the Democrats anymore, I like him the best of the bunch. And he's an underdog. And I always like the underdog. I don't really like Biden anymore. My politics have drifted far from the corporatist mentality of Joe Biden. Oh, give it up. Give it up, Joe. I'm glad he's running, though, because he probably will win the Democratic nomination. Will he be able to beat Donald Trump? It depends. It depends on how bumbling Donald Trump is. I don't necessarily think Donald Trump will actually run in 2020. I have a feeling he'll be resigning as soon as the truth comes out during the impeachment hearings. We're still waiting on some facts to come forward. Donald Trump has been suppressing all the information we could possibly get about his tax returns. And when the impeachment decision goes forward, we still won't have the tax returns in front of us because he's done everything he could to avoid anyone seeing them. No IRS tax returns. Right. Very strange. And then when you want to determine if Donald Trump has been working with Putin at all, it would be nice if we knew if Putin was working with him. He's had absolutely no tapes of Putin recorded, nothing. And he frequently attacks witnesses whenever they come up on the stand, which is a sign of a guilty person. So I think Donald Trump is totally guilty. And as soon as the truth comes out, one way or another, whether we see his tax returns, whether we get a hold of the transcript of his first meeting with Putin, which he purposely had destroyed, there may be another copy. I don't know. I wouldn't pay for a butt gig. But thanks. I'm not gay, okay, Willie? But I have nothing against Pete Buttigieg's gayness. I really don't. And I don't really think it's becoming for a person to run around talking about their gayness and then cite the Bible. It's a slam in the face of people who are religious or are Christian. So when he cites the Bible, that's when I jump ship. I say, I cannot handle anybody with that level of insincerity. It makes me sick. It makes me want to puke when I see that. But yeah, no IRS tax returns is a big significant factor. Big time hiding something. Yeah. All right, we'll be getting back to the debates in just a bit. You just finished doing your taxes. Did you make a lot of money? What about corn pop? Yeah, what about corn pop? Do we want corn pop? That's the question. Hey, we have a really good meme here. Let's take a look. Apparently there's a big line in the waiting line for comforting lines. Anyone who's offering comforting lies. Nobody wants to stand there and listen to the unpleasant truths. So the line is really, really long for the comforting lies, but nobody wants to hear the unpleasant truths tonight, Commercial break in progress. We'll be back in just a bit. Now, Trump stole money from a charity for veterans, and yet his supporters think that is okay. Good point, Player 17. I don't get it either. I don't know how Trump supporters ignore what he's done, but Trump supporters, and I have a lot of them in this room right now, we're right in the vortex of the political spectrum, or in the middle. Trump supporters, by and large, just shut down any criticism and call it fake news. And if that doesn't work, they call it a Russian hoax. And if that doesn't work, it's just a scam. So they basically mull around 4 or 5 words in their head to knock off any real critical questioning about Trump's honesty or his track record. Any real terms come to the play, they just blow it right out of the water. They don't believe it. It's all a witch hunt. It's all a witch hunt. It's all fake news. It's all a scam. They've been briefed on the Trump method of response. Now, Willie Make brought up a very important thing, the Trump debate where he was sniffing. Somebody said that represented a possible cocaine addiction. And this is way back in 2016 before Carrie Fisher was terminated on board a plane. But Carrie Fisher had said that she had a theory why Trump had been sniffling so much at the presidential debate. He was heard sniffing quite a bit during the second debate. And, Fisher thought that she had done coke, and she said, "Tell me something about that sniffle, cokehead or no?" asked the fan. And Fisher replied, "I'm an expert, and absolutely," she said. "I'm an expert, and absolutely." So she was a real cokehead, and she claimed that Trump sniffling was not a cold, that it was actually a cocaine or Adderall use. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say, but when you listen to that sound of the sniffles, you really wonder, what was it? Because we measured 136 sniffles in one night, and Scissorfight lost his YouTube account just showing it on the air. I'm going to show you about 6 seconds of it.
All right, Mr. Trump, you have 2 minutes. How do you heal the divide?
Okay, that's all I'm going to show you. She was very candid about sex and drug use. I liked Carrie Fisher, I really do. Trump Tardo, you still contend it's a fake impeachment. Donald Trump was impeached fair and square. Yeah.
After he's defeated by me this next time.
Senator Klobuchar, you're going to be a juror in the trial in the Senate that's about to start. Do you worry President Trump will be emboldened by acquittal?
No. We have a constitutional duty to perform here. And when I look at what the issue is, it's whether or not we're going to be able to have witnesses. We've asked for only 4 people as witnesses. And if our Republican colleagues won't allow those witnesses, they may as well give the president a crown and a scepter. They may as well make him king.
Well, they're planning on it. So 4 witnesses is not asking a lot. Charles Schumer has said, we want to ask, Mick Mulvaney, Rudy Giuliani, Donald McGahn, and one other person. Yeah, that's pretty acceptable. Soon, what's going on? Dave Rodney 2020. Soon. Trump impeached himself. Yeah, pretty much. He refuses to defend himself on any grounds of truth. He's a low IQer. Micah, remember your warning. No linky. We've talked about that. Governor Gavin Newsom tours Riverside homeless shelter to highlight crisis. Talk about total hypocrite walking into a homeless shelter when he can't even put a bathroom in Skid Row. Wow. Unbelievable. Trying to frame this as a media event. This guy is the lowest person in the world. Not only is he a close relative of Nancy Pelosi's, but it's just beyond belief how this nepotism keeps generating these glad-handing suckasses. Yeah, he sucks it for a daily life, I hear you. There he is, sucking off the homelessness now, trying to make a big thing of it when he can't even put a bathroom in Skid Row. What a jerk. Oh, here he is, Tom Steyer.
To sign and say this president deserves to be impeached and removed from office. And those 8.5 million people have called their Congress people, have emailed their Congress people, and have actually dragged Washington, D.C. to see that, in fact, this is a question of right and wrong and not of political expediency.
Okay.
So if you ask me whether standing up for what's right in America, standing up for the Constitution, whether doing that and trying to bring the truth in front of the American people in televised hearings so we can decide what the truth is for ourselves. If you think that that isn't worth it, then you don't share the idea that I do about what the America's about. Standing up for what's right is always worth it, Wolf. And I will never back down from that.
Senator Warren, a Senate trial is expected to keep you in Washington in the weeks leading up to the Iowa caucuses here. How big of a problem is that for you as you're making your closing pitch to voters here?
Look, some things are more important than politics. I took an oath
You took an oath. You lied about being a Cherokee Indian and collected a free education. We believe you? No, we don't.
If we have an impeachment trial, I will be there because it is my responsibility.
You should be impeached as a senator. You don't deserve it. You should be in jail for 5 years for perjury. I liked Tom Steyer, too. In my opinion, Tom Steyer won this debate.
That's what lies at the heart of it. It is about Donald Trump putting Donald Trump first, not the American people, not the interests of the United States of America, not even in helping Ukraine not even in helping Ukraine defend against Russia. It is about him helping to win this election. We need to draw that distinction and show that as Democrats, we're not going to be the people who are just out for the big corporations, people who want to help themselves, that we are going to be the party that is willing to fight on the side of the people.
Coming from a person who has $12.5 million in net worth. Sure, yeah. Talk about liar.
Racking up an estimated $2 billion in damages. Today, many Iowans are still displaced from their homes. Mayor Buttigieg, you've talked about helping people move from areas at high risk of flooding. But what do you do about farms and factories that simply can't be moved?
That's why we have to fight climate change with such urgency. Climate change has come to America from coast to coast. We're seeing it in Iowa. We've seen it in historic floods in my community. I had to activate our emergency operations center for a once-in-a-millennium flood. Then 2 years later, had to do the same thing. In Australia, there are literally tornadoes made of fire taking place. This is no longer theoretical. This is no longer off in the future. We have got to act, yes.
Wouldn't it be great if he talked about directed energy weapons or chemtrails? You see how irrelevant these Democrats have become, these Democrats? They won't even talk about weather modification and how the weather is being changed artificially. They won't even bring up the fact that most of the fires in California were caused by directed energy weapons. Yeah. I think we got a case of Eddie Munster.
Workers in my community and make clear that we need to enlist them
But Mayor
in the
Buttigieg,
national project to do something
to
about
clarify, what do you do about farms and factories that cannot be relocated?
We are going to have to use federal funds to make sure that we are supporting those whose lives will inevitably be impacted further by the increased severity and the increased frequency. And by the way, that is happening to farms, that is happening to factories, and that disproportionately happens to Black and brown Americans, which is why equity and environmental justice have to be at the core of our climate plan.
Thank you, Mayor
going forward.
Buttigieg. Mr. Steyer, what's your response?
Look, what you're talking about is what's called managed retreat. It's basically saying we're going to have to move things because this crisis is out of control and it's unbelievably expensive. And of course, we're going to come to the rescue of Americans who are in trouble. But this is why climate is my #1 priority. And I'm still shocked that I'm the only person on this stage who will say this. I would declare a state of emergency on day 1 on climate. I would do it from the standpoint of environmental justice and make sure we go to the Black and brown communities where you can't breathe or drink the water that comes out of the tap safely. But I also know this.
I know that that's ridiculous.
Millions of good-paying union jobs across the...
I'm sorry, but that's ridiculous. Declaring climate change an emergency, this is really sad, actually. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not... Unless he's willing to talk about chemtrails and the modification of weather that's going on right under us, he doesn't stand, in my mind, to be the nominee. I mean, there's no way. None of them really qualify, in my opinion. They all fall way short because they're not willing to talk about the tough issues like genetically modified food. They don't take a stand on that. No Democrat will take a stand on that. No Democrat will take a stand on the dangerous activity of forced vaccinations. They want to force vaccinate. They all do. And none of them want to talk about the dangers of pesticides and herbicides in our environment. They never want to take a stand on that. They always skirt the tough issues.
Crisis. I've beat oil companies in terms of clean air laws. I've stopped fossil fuel plants in Oxnard, California. I fought the Keystone Pipeline. I have a history of over a decade of leading the climate fight successfully.
Thank you, Mr. Steyer.
So actually,
You know, if they could get they could get a string attached to every time somebody in the Democratic Party went like this, we could actually generate energy, you know? It'd be great. Even the head bobbing of Elizabeth Warren, you know? There's a lot of kinetic energy in this debate here. Lots of people who want to really win the election, even though they can't even get close to Donald Trump's rhetoric.
The moment cannot be overstated. I will do everything a president can do all by herself on the first day.
Oh, give me a break. She is such a liar. My God, she just lies incessantly. I can't listen to that woman. No, it's just too much. This is almost painful, and I'm sure it is painful for you Republicans to listen to this crap. Yeah, I'm just not going to overreact like the Democrats have. Australia's damaged, fire-stricken countryside is set to have a big rainfall this week, giving hope to exhausted firefighters. None of them are willing to accept the possibility of directed energy weapons used to start the fires. Practically all of the pictures of the burned-out cars and houses look identical to California's fires, which indicate fires as hot as 3,000 degrees, which is impossible in a standard wildfire situation. I'm very concerned that the real issues are not being discussed. But it should help with a little bit of the rain coming. That would minimize the effects of the fires. But okay, you brought me your answer to Bernie reading to the kids. Bernie Sanders is not a Muppet. Although that does look kind of like Bernie reading to the kids. Good point. Yeah, so I guess I got to go back into that hellhole. The U.S. has a crazy super gun that shoots 25 pounds of bullets with magnets. Yeah, the U.S. Navy doesn't run around bragging like the Vladimir Putin does with a hypersonic weapon. The U.S. Navy does have some pretty powerful things. Here's a prototype railgun that can be fired 25-pound projectiles at 4,500 miles an hour. Look at that. Isn't it amazing? Yeah, see? The components of the railgun are very similar to a Scud missile. The electromagnetic railgun moves the magnetically charged bullets so fast through the barrel that it uses opposing electromagnetic currents to accelerate the projectile. Isn't it amazing? So these are all technologies to kill people, which are being developed by our U.S. military. Isn't that wonderful? No, Trump stacked 6 billionaires in the swamp. Trump stacked 6 billionaires in the swamp. And you retardicans have the audacity to claim that he cleared the swamp. He drained it. You are sick, sir. You need to get your head examined. Hardly. You're going to go on mute again. What a scumbag. Okay, I'm just moving through my links right now. We talked about Gwyneth Paltrow's vagina candle. I think we'll pass on that one. Yeah. Now, Prince Andrew. Police won't say where Prince Andrew's guards were on the night he's accused of sex with a teen. So the Royal Guard is standing by Prince Andrew defending his behavior. Now this is becoming a bigger issue.
Farouk done his first modelling job when he was age how old?
I don't want to have this one. Police have come under fire for refusing to release details from Prince Andrew's bodyguard's movements on the night he allegedly had sex with a teenage girl. Prince Andrew infamously claimed he was at a Pizza Express in Woking, Surrey, with his nephews on the day he's accused of having sex with Virginia Roberts. Virginia, who was 17 at the time, says she was trafficked by the prince's pedophile billionaire pal, Jeffrey Epstein. Now, Prince Andrew says that this is not his picture, that it was somehow pasted up, and he cites this evidence. Hang on, I'm bringing up his evidence. He says this is not his hand. All right? That's not his hand over there. That's not his hand right there. And, you know, in a way, I see his point, because you notice how straight that line is right there? It's clearly been, it seems like it is photoshopped. And I'm not just taking the prince's side for the heck of it, but have you ever seen a line straighter than that line right there? Down her side? I have not changed at all. That's a lie. Isn't that interesting? That is a Photoshop straight line. I'm telling you, there's something wrong with that. Yeah, I do believe he's right. I am not AI. I told you that. You have been removed. Stream is goofing. I don't know, man, but I'm looking at that line, and I didn't even think that. Doesn't that look a little bit Photoshop? I mean, come on. Who has a line down their side like that? Just look at. It's just not right. There's something very strange about this line right here. Yeah, it's just not right. I'm telling you. Look at how it is a straight line. That's just not. No. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that I believe this picture was photoshopped. It could be, and I'm beginning to believe the prince. Does that shock you? Are we all ready to prosecute Prince Andrew in the court of public opinion? I'm sorry. I would rather look at the proof. It looked photoshopped to me. This is not the real David. What? What are you talking about? I am not. How could I have been replaced? You're running with a very sick thought there. I'm the same guy I was in 2008. Yes, I've changed just a little bit. I got younger. But that's not my fault. Just because I use fruit enzyme spray doesn't mean I'm in any way a clone or a robot. Some of you think, oh, David, you're acting like a clone.
Hi, good morning. As you can see, I'm still wearing the shirt I wore last night and yesterday at Blog TV.
It was very much the same guy. It's the same car. I have the same car. I even have the same shirt I was wearing 11 years ago. So just because fruit enzyme works doesn't mean that you have to criticize me and claim I'm a clone. Trump has done a lot of bad things. He has a history of over 150 indictments by the U.S. government. We're getting attacked right now, Scissorfight, over at iBlog. Because Mad Dog's so butthurt that I don't agree with his right-wing support of Donald Trump, he's calling me a clone. Unbelievable. Well, let's take a moment's reprieve just to, gather our thoughts here and look at Chris Cornell admit that he was replaced. I'm going to show you something that may be a little shocking. Yeah. Hang on. This was an interview with Chris Cornell that took place before he died, in which he says that he is not the real Chris Cornell. We're going to get to the truth right now.
First and foremost musical influence was the Beatles.
I'm actually not Chris Cornell. I'm an actor. He died years ago, and not Chris Cornell. I'm an actor.
Influence was the Beatles.
I'm actually not Chris Cornell. I'm an actor.
Did you hear that?
He died years ago, and he died years ago. Not Chris Cornell. I'm an actor. He died years ago, and his management just decided, well, they looked at what happened when Paul McCartney died and how they pulled that off so well. And I was hired. I'm taller than the original guy by 3 inches, but nobody ever really seemed to notice that.
Well, no, seriously, this is not Chris Cornell. This is a guy who literally was an actor. And it came to me as almost an epiphany that many of the people in our lexicon of movies and film and television and entertainment, many of them who have been very successful oftentimes feel that they have a voice and they want to speak out about issues. And they basically get shut down or killed whenever they do. Case in point, here's a guy who claimed to be an actor playing Chris Cornell. So let's take a look at Chris Cornell, various pictures we have of him, and see if he's telling the truth, okay? This is a little truth finding tonight. Chris Cornell, the famous musician from Soundgarden who recently died. This guy claimed he was an actor. You heard him just now, and that he was replaced. Let's take a look at the early pictures of Chris Cornell. This is very interesting. This is not going to bore you, I trust you. I am not some weird whack job, Baylock from an outer space world trying to tell you strange things and scare you. Hardly. Although I do look like him. I in no way want to scare anyone. But no, seriously, let's get to the bottom of this. I'm going to show you some pictures right now. We're going to do our own little fact-finding thing real quick. It won't take long, and you will be blown away. Here we go. Chris Cornell in a picture, a youthful picture when he was with his band early on. Okay, this is the earlier Chris Cornell. This is the guy who is shorter by about 3 or 4 inches. Take a look at that picture real close. And then take a look at this picture. I'll bring it in right now. Okay. You notice the person standing next to him in the top picture is significantly higher, taller. You see that right there? Emphasize it with a little blue mark I'm putting on his head there. Yeah, that's about a 3-inch variation right there between him. And then you look at him here wearing a hat, and then you look at Chris Cornell virtually 3 inches taller than him. How is that? Yeah, you could claim at one time he's wearing heels and the other time he's not, but no, I've got other pictures showing Chris Cornell much shorter than this guy. So it looks to me very much like what he said was absolutely true. Okay, running with that theory, why would they kill the fake Chris Cornell? Why would they go out and have him fake suicide, pretend like he's, tied with a rubber hose around his neck? Because like all the people that are picked to replace people, they either go with the program and say whatever they're supposed to say, or they get terminated. That's the theory. Okie dokie, boomer. I'm going to ask you to leave New Power. Yeah, because you're not really a person who seriously accepts the fact that you have a responsibility as a snowflake to do just what we as boomers or X-Gen people or as millennials have to do. You need to work on your act. Yeah, and improve your environment. You need to start recycling. Now, I've been recycling since I was, 1 year old. I remember I wanted to save everything in my bedroom because I didn't want to, throw it in the garbage. And then I realized, well, the more you acquire, the more you become a pack rat. So I stopped acquiring things. But if you're a snowflake and you're blaming the boomers, you got a real problem, man. You got to take responsibility for yourself. That's one of the common threads of snowflakes today, is they blame the boomers for everything. The boomers, they probably did the same thing you're doing, didn't take responsibility for themselves. And admittedly, there's a problem with our environment, but you're just as much a part of it as we are. All right? And I'll probably outlive you anyways, so don't worry. So I just showed you a classic case of a guy who did not match the height, and he even said that he was a fake actor, and then he died. So where's the truth in all that? The government covered up his entire investigation, even though Chris Cornell had, I would say, enough injuries to die from just broken ribs. When he died, he had 9 broken ribs. It doesn't make sense that he would be strangled. He had a hematoma in his eye that was large enough to indicate a struggle of at least 9 minutes to save his life. And the police that investigated Chris Cornell's death said that he was high on drugs, blah, blah, blah. He wasn't that high on drugs. And second of all, he couldn't possibly have broken 9 ribs himself, trying to survive strangling himself with a workout rubber band. So everything about Chris Cornell leads to more questions. Yeah. And the hematoma indicated 8 or 9 minutes of struggle. The questions that pop up about Chris Cornell is essentially one of his best friends, Chester Bennington, who was the lead singer in Linkin Park, whereas Chris Cornell was the lead singer in Soundgarden. Chester Bennington died, a month later at the same time, pretty much, of the same way. And that raises questions about who Chester Bennington was. Well, Chester Bennington, his close friend, killed himself on a day that he was seen laughing and smiling with his kids. They just bought a new house in Palos Verdes, California. But look at that. Look at how close he looks to John Podesta. And many people allege that John Podesta was his father. Yeah. And, you know, John Podesta has been accused of human trafficking and all kinds of things with Pizzagate and all that. Well, as this story gets weirder and weirder, it turns out that Chester Bennington and Chris Cornell were working closely in investigating child trafficking. And they were looking into the backgrounds of their own family. And Chester Bennington was still researching his father when he died. Well, there's another conspiracy theory out there that may be true. And again, these are just theories that may or may not be true, but this is a striking similarity between him and someone else. There is another conspiracy theory that suggests that John Podesta is the son of Joseph Mengele, the known child torturer and a human experimenter. Things are getting a little weird in conspiracy land. Yeah, I don't like conspiracies, but when you read and look into all these identical faces and the matches of everybody involved, you begin to wonder, was Chester Bennington John Podesta's son? Because John Podesta looks a lot like him, and there's evidence that Chester Bennington was molested by his real father, he said. Yeah, and he even wrote songs about it. And there's this strong theory that Mengele had a son, and it was John Podesta. We are getting DDoSed right now, indicating truth. Whenever we get DDoS, it indicates truth. I'm onto something here. Yeah. So now you look at Joseph Mengele and John Podesta and see a similarity in their facial features. What are they covering up? What is the big cover up here? You're leaving, Odin? Okay. Sleep well. Good night. Lawrence Welk and the famous the Lawrence Welk Stars singing Good Night. Thank you. Thank you. Take care, DT Laura. You can tell the truth about anything you want, Player 17. I'm liking you tonight. Yeah. I'm not angry at you. That's right. I don't trust anyone when it comes to these stories, so when I look at conspiracy theories, I try to find kernels of truth in them. And it's true, Chester Bennington was molested by his father at the age of 9. It impacted him terribly. Was his father John Podesta? I can't verify that. Are any of the true statements, are any of the statements about Pizzagate true or not true? Again, when the government decided that the word Pizzagate was a bannable offense, I began to think it was true. As soon as the president of Reddit and the president of Twitter declared that the word Pizzagate was enough to get your account kicked off, that's when I knew that Pizzagate had uncovered a link. And all those WikiLeaks related to John Podesta and pizzas and code words for child trafficking, all of those need to be investigated. But we haven't seen any investigation at all by our government, which is run by pedophiles. Now you're laughing. You think it's funny to talk about Pizzagate? See, this is what the world has become. People afraid to talk about the worst possible criminals in Washington engaged in sex trafficking of children. Wow. Delta 777 dumps fuel on approach to LAX, experiencing control issues, and it dumps it on an entire 4 elementary schools filled with children. It's not a joke. Look at this. Fuel on 4 elementary schools. Literally dumping that jet fuel on top of the kids. Isn't that nice? Thank you. Oh, and see the chemtrails in the distance? Isn't that nice too? Yeah, let's just dump the elementary schools with jet fuel. What do you say? And when you're saying there's no such thing as child predators, I hope you're kidding, because they're all over the place now. Okay, good night, Max. Sleep well. Yeah. Yeah, I don't. That's a CDC story about a New York boy dying from the flu. The CDC's out pushing stories all over the place, trying to get people to believe in vaccines. Yeah, we need to leave children alone, but the point of the matter is, kids are not really. We're no one's answering the question. No, not at all. 55,000 kids a year are missing. And I mean, they could be dead. Yeah. And this is a statistic. Go to missingkids.com. Look it up. You'll be blown away. The reality is our country is ignoring child abduction left and right. And when they told everyone that Pizzagate was not allowed to be used in Twitter or Reddit, that's beyond belief. How could they possibly declare a word to be illegal in a country that's free and has freedom of speech? It makes no sense. 11-year-old dies when he wants to become just a statistic. Or what? Is this a CDC thing you're bringing me, Wig? No, that's just all CDC BS coming at you. They're pushing their agenda of forced vaccinations on everybody. No, the real number is 800,000 when you Google how many missing kids per year across the globe. But this is in the U.S. alone. And the number of people in the U.S. alone is 250,000. And of those kids, many of them are being taken by their parents to separate from the other parents. So you have to pull a lot of those numbers out. But when it reduces down, it's about 55,000 kids missing, dead or alive. We don't even know where they are. It could be there are people working on torturing these children. They could be using these kids as a form of a supply of adrenochrome. The kids could be used for organ trafficking. Maybe there are pedophiles that get off on torturing children. But why is it our country can't talk about Pizzagate? Exactly. Now, Pizzagate was the first instance of the word fake news. CNN claimed it was fake news. Then Donald Trump globbed onto that word fake news and made it his word. But there's no evidence that Pizzagate was fake at all. There was evidence some guy who was an actor, an IMDb actor, decided to blow a round off at the Comet Pizza store. And that was the reason they claimed it was fake news? Well, there's more than enough questions about it still to this day that a lot of us are saying, yeah, where is the truth there? We'd like to know more. It's not fake. No, you've been led to believe it's fake by the media. They led you to believe that was fake news when there's no evidence it was fake at all. There's more than enough evidence that there are emails in the WikiLeaks that were very disturbing coming out of the Podesta office. What if I told you that Hillary Clinton bought $11,000 worth of pizza from James Alefantis? Would that shock you? Or that George Soros bought $9,000 worth of pizza from James Alefantis? I don't know where you can go to get pizza for $9,000 or $11,000. I have no idea what that indicates. But these are facts. They aren't coming up with falsities here. These are factual emails that have been discovered showing that Hillary bought $11,000 of the pizzas and Soros bought $9,000 of the pizzas. You can't refute that. All right, Sarah's going to come in the room and take over. I'm going to have a little something. And you guys can stop talking about conspiracies, okay? I heard the federal government is going to punish cities that do nothing about homeless. Yeah. They'll probably arrest the homeless people and send them to FEMA camps as punishment. Okay, you're getting up at 6 for college. Good night. Sleep well, Herbal Ascension.
I don't have to get up early tomorrow.
Oh, good. You have another day off?
Yeah.
Great.
Well, they decided to call it the night before because they said that way parents can, they're hoping that helps parents make arrangements for their children.
Oh,
because
yeah.
the parents still have to go to work or, something like that.
That's true, yeah. Well, we've had a big cold spell
It's just
that
because
hit.
schools are closed, other places could be open.
We had warm weather through the whole winter, initial winter cold spell that the Midwest got. We had warm winter. Now we're getting the weather that they had. It's finally coming our way, and we're getting like 5 or 6 inches of snow here on this island, which rarely gets snow, but more so recently than before when we first moved here.
I work to pay my bills. Okay. Yep, we have a nice little... Yeah, exactly. Progress is what America's Third Party is all about. So yeah, anyway, it's woke up early this morning all ready to go because yesterday there was snow on the ground, and we had school, so it's we'll probably still have school again today, and so I was ready to go, and then I checked my messages and it said 2-hour late start. And then I was like, okay, I'll go, you know what? I'm going to go work on some grades. I had brought home my grade book, and so I was like in there, like decided to enter some grades that I had done so far. And I said, entered those. And that was like 2 hours. Or the 2 hours had passed, and I'm like, okay, I gotta go get ready. 2 hours late start. And then I went and checked my messages again. I'm like, oh, school's closed for today. But anyway, thanks, Pinklitis. Yeah, it's pretty good. I know, player 17. Yeah. Jack said, David, did you hear the federal government is going to punish cities that do nothing about their homeless population? How so? Are they just not going to give them funding? I mean, and how does that actually benefit the homeless? How are they going to punish them? Yeah, arresting homeless people would give them a shelter. That's true. How dare you, Bengalitis? Should I be in school too? Ah, that's a pretty good one, player 17. And you could say, David Sponheim doesn't go to a tanning salon at all. You should see that guy's skin. He always avoids the sunlight. Okay. Didn't know she wanted it. Didn't know KY was willing to get rid of his. Makes sense though, 313, thank you. Yeah, most likely hit him in the purse, but how's that going to actually solve homelessness? Yeah, true. Well, David does always wears sunglasses, so if he's outside, he sometimes has that look. Channing. See, Rich, I don't know if you're still in the room. And baby girl Green Eyes, hello. Oh, touche, Master Meatball. Touche. It could be a spray tan, yeah, or a tanning bed. Thank you. 477. I guess I did wake up early, even though I didn't work that hard today. Well, I did catch up on my grades and then worked ahead on my grades, so I'm ahead right now. I was like, I didn't bring home that one stack of quizzes I gave, but that's all right. And tomorrow, maybe I'll plan some writing. That's what I might do. There's your idea, Master Meatball. I don't know. It might be for not just for feminist ones who want to put the pins in it, but it might be it. You know, the good thing is, Master Meatball, it's like has a wide audience because it has women that never get to hold it, and then it also has women that want to put pins in it. So there you go. A little tired. Well, I will say this, Player 17, I don't advertise it. And maybe that's my problem, but I definitely don't advertise it at work. Sorry, Master Meatball. Well, you can... Great minds think alike. It's alright. It's an okay question, but yeah, I try to keep things separated. Oh, you did remind me of something I'll work on tomorrow. I'm going to double check that my physical address isn't on file at through my work. I don't think it is, but anyway. Even though you guys could figure out my physical address, I do not like him at all. I do not like Trump at all. No, I'm not going for my PhD. Not now, at least, slow modes. I think there's some other things that I need to work on. And you know, the thing that always gives me anxiety, I realize the idea of coding does give me a lot of anxiety. Whereas like the master degree that I got in learning and technology, it wasn't too stressful, but the idea of like learning how to code is definitely stressful. Oh, CNN is... Oh, really? What about that... Who was that? The sixth character they had on there? Tear? What was your thoughts about... Stayer? I don't know yet. What language? I think I want to learn some JavaScripting. I know you would work with me on coding. And I do know a little bit. I know a little bit, and I know how to read it. It just scares me for some reason. That's true. If I don't like one, I could learn another one. He wasted his opportunity, resorted to meaningless bumper stickers. Climate change. I need a good coding editor. Well, actually the math is not what scares me. I don't know what scares me. I guess I know like what David wants is this like the ability to kind of compete with Mark Vaughn or iVlog and create our own chat show. And so learning to code that is kind of what is overwhelming. Maybe that's it. 313. If I'm bad at coding, David will dump me. David will never dump me. I actually like math, and I think especially if I learn through Khan Academy, I would love to actually learn more mathematics. Yeah, I understand that, player. I do think like with code you build on others, but I guess the idea of like building something and what if it doesn't work? How do I know that David would never dump me? We've been together so long and we've been through enough things that I'm convinced that David would never dump me. That's what gives me that impression. Oh, what is that? That's weird. Man. Okay. I don't know. Well, one thing I was looking into is maybe maybe I will get it back into HTML5, but David is working on Cool Rack Party, and we talked about this, and he's said he's always relaxing his standards around his expectations of what he thought I could do. You thought about learning to program yourself recently. You hate the fact that they now call it coding. Yeah. You think coding is a way of saying you're using other programs to make a program, but not really being a programmer. Ah, I kind of get you. Yeah. Well, yeah, you're right. Not recreating the wheel, that would be good. There's this really cool thing that they have out now called WebRTC. That's a project supported by Google, but I guess it's an open source project. And so it's a way to do video streaming, but so I've been looking into video streaming a little bit and been looking into things, and I still haven't built a basic chat room. Yeah, you can still call it, say, programming. It can be used interchangeably. But you're right that, like, when I do think of coding, I'm like Hour of Code, where the kids are using a program to code, but I don't think they're... But there's also, you could do server side, almost the server side, it would be programming. Yeah, most people are lazy, just want WordPress and want a blog, which is easy because then you can just type and write about anything you feel. I went to this camp and then I learned about, I was doing websites in HTML, and then I learned about Drupal and Joomla. So then I downloaded I turned our website into a Drupal website, and it's way more complex than a WordPress site. But I don't know if somebody used that. And anyway, it got way more complex than it used to be. I think it has to do with encoding messages to be like, it harkens back to cryptography and sending secret codes. I think that's why they started calling it coding, but I'm not sure.
I think the elitists have put.
Yeah.
I think the elitists have put Donald Trump in power to drive people away from him. I really believe that they put such an exaggerant, brash, almost imbecilic man as president in order to make people hate the Republicans. And I almost think that they're trying to push us toward the Democratic Party because of that. I think it's a game they play. The people that fund both sides of the political parties, they're driving people now to become Democrats. And that, too, is not really going well with people because they don't want to take away their right to bear arms. Yet the Democrats keep pushing that.
Yeah, you're probably right. All right, do you want me to?
I don't actually apply my intelligence to coding.
Yeah, exactly.
My intelligence is not set up that way. I'm not like an insect or an ant. I don't move linearly. I have a very an inductive thinking process, not deductive. Deductive people can definitely do coding, but inductive people look at problems and say, hey, there's something wrong with the big picture here. Thank you.
Yeah, David's worried about looking at the big picture in the world and solving those things. Yeah, that's assembly language sounds. Thing about assembly language sounds sexy. I never liked dodgeball. Necessity often drives programming that most don't sit down to create something new. Yeah. Happens over time. How would it not be? It's a low level language is what they say. What do you mean, my internet? Are you not being able to see my... But then I've heard that in order to understand assembly language is different on every single computer. So, oh, that's true. And that's where the term assembler comes from. All right.
Now, Mad Dog is promoting the haven't changed.
But
Well, we all change a certain amount.
That's a good point. Yeah. Anyway. You've got a website to work on. Bye, Master Meatball. Enjoy your website. Work. Oh. I didn't realize that, Final Dream. The only difference... Oh, is that... Oh, I just found a cool website. That sounds good. What is assembly? Machine language specific family of processors having then there's registers. Huh. And you're right. Figuring out it's like true, it's not used by the masses, but if you understood it, you can understand everything that the masses do. Yeah, exactly, Jordan. Assembly language advantages. It requires less memory and execution time. It allows hardware-specific complex jobs in an easier way. It's suitable for time-critical jobs. It's most suitable for writing interrupt service routines and other memory-resident features. Got to learn. to pop and push things off internal stacks and then call various functions in the processor located at specific addresses to get things to execute. Windows, yes, I have heard Windows is written in C, but it's compiled to assembly machine language. Well, I kind of feel like, I mean, obviously, I know that the higher codes, higher languages, that they try to get it closer and closer to human language, but they don't do a very good job. I would say the other thing that assembly programming, a traditional something like that, where it's in a factory, that would be.
I don't consider me living to be 180 or 1,000. So for me to say I live to be 180 years old is not a cult-like belief. The science is rapidly developing. Many of you will benefit from it. Yeah, so I'm not trying to promise immortal life or mortality, but it's not out of the question to think you could live to be 180 years old. So you guys are talking about coding, huh? Cool.
No.
Enjoy.
It's
a lot. What I do is try to find the pathway of least resistance. It's the logical thing to do. When new forms of website design came out, and they were expected to be much easier, but in fact they take way more uploads because they have to constantly be updated to meet the demands of attacks, veritable attacks on websites. So ironically, the old HTML is more bulletproof than anything else out there. It provided a lot of information, and we used programs that were readily available and free. And the keywords are fairly good, but make maximum use of them. And I think that the use of YouTube servers out there might be our best angle. There are a lot of new developments in just getting YouTube live shows going, and I think we could easily open up another is more likely to work for us. That's why I put everything at Cool Rock, so that we could actually move it around. And you can take the Cool Rock page and move it around yourself and see how easy it is to refresh. It pops right back to normal. It's very unusual. And the guy who developed it is a really amazing coder named Steve Rapiti. Now, I respect amazing coders. I really do. I have a lot of respect for them. I respect Forth and his ability to code. That's great. I think you guys are embedded in it, and you need to just kind of keep doing what you do. I don't think that we have to worry about that as end users, though. A lot of us can just benefit from the work that is being done by expert coders working behind the scenes, so we can actually work on the what you see, what you get platform that they create. I think we can still do this. I really do. It doesn't require complex coding knowledge to plug and play and tweak various programs to work on a website. It's not that difficult. So because many of us are at that level, I think what I did was with Cool Rock was make it fun and free and private. Those are the key words that I think will emerge in the near future, because most people don't want to spend a lot of money. And I understand Mark wants to charge money, according to I Love Fries. Mark wants to charge money for people to actually come in here in January of 2021. I won't do it. I won't pay to be a Bond participant. So our show can go anywhere in any direction, and we'll bring a lot of viewers with us. So I'm not really concerned. But monetizing the internet is not something I want to see happen. I really don't. We benefit from the open, shared, free information available to us, and that's one of the edges we have over the elite people that have lots of money. And the reason why the free internet has been so popular and so successful is because the government's literally been funding it. They gave so much money to In-Q-Tel to buy stock in Google that it's a huge part of the Google platform. They own it mostly. The government has bought a lot of these big companies, and they paid for it. They covered the cost. Thank you, Sarah. Get some sleep.
God, everybody riled up.
Take a bath or something. It might warm up the room. Okay. Yeah, so monetizing things, and thanks so much for helping out. I appreciate it. Sarah, everybody, isn't she nice to come in and do this? I love that. The fact that she gives me this time. I carry the bulk of the show because I really like to talk, as you can see. But yeah, for the vast majority of people, if it's free, they love it. If it's fun, even better. If it's private, that's the new future for the internet. With all the social credit forces that are coming at us from Google's involvement with China, building their social networks, their social credit system. I understand that Mark Zuckerberg participated in that quite a bit. I understand Google was instrumental in building their facial recognition system over there in China. It's descending on us, and we don't want that. The American people want something simple and easy and fun and safe and private. And that's what I'm going to deliver eventually, 100%. We already have it at Cool Rock, but I want to deliver that on a daily basis. Yeah, Mark keeps pitching people for money every time they come into the show. And what many people don't know, and a lot of people don't believe, is that Mark has made millions and millions of dollars from censors, just to censor us. I have information recently came to me that Mark received $3.2 million in 2017 from the Council on Foreign Relations. I cannot verify that. But they're concerned about the growth of this third party, and they're concerned about how it would affect their stranglehold over the two-party system. Woo-hoo, yeah, woo-hoo, Dave. Hey, Dave. Anyway, not to talk up what I believe is the trend and the truth on the internet, but I really want to level that simple fact that we are paving the way with a brand new form of communication, which should have been much more resilient and much more available to everybody a long, long time ago. We wanted the rich internet to evolve, but it didn't. It got bought up by the government and by very wealthy people. You got a campaign song for me? Thank you. So the wealthy people don't like the fact that we've got open cameras waiting for you over at iVlog. If you guys want to participate in the show, they don't like that we can do that for next to nothing. The kindness of somebody donating a pro account gives me the cameras that I can now interact with, something Mark promised years ago, a co-host feature, and he never delivered on. Yeah. Not really. When a person's asked, will you stop somebody from getting people to come into your site and chatting? And that person says, yeah, sure, I know some people. Yeah, I can make that happen. Well, they'd be glad to give you millions of dollars to do that, to stop this guy, David Sponheim. Oh, okay, whatever, sure, yeah, I can do that. I'll just tell my server guy to, make it happen. It doesn't take a lot of brains to cheat, steal, and lie, is what I'm saying. Anybody of low value and moral character can do it. So I don't think for a second that would be a problem for him. And being a Trump supporter, it fits right in, stopping the opposition that's pushing issues that are even more powerful than Trump's. Yeah. I can tell you Zero Hedge sometimes has some good stories, but it is, ever since Steve Bannon took his place there and made his mark there, it's become kind of the CIA outpost. Jim Rogers talking about a horrible time ahead in the market, analyzing the state of the global market, 27 minutes. Okay, I'll take a look at it if we have nothing else to play tonight. Okay? I'll add it to my maybe I'll play it later section. But many of you don't seem to understand that there are people in government that are fully aware that my name is out there around the world, and they don't want people to come into the chat and reveal that they're watching me from a small village in the Philippines. And they love the show. They don't want anyone to know that. Yeah, you're out. Take care, Jordan. Take it easy, man. So you don't have to align with my theories. I know that Player 17 doesn't agree with the Pizzagate thing. I don't care. I'm still going to talk about it. I know a lot of people that believe that there's a lot to the missing kids story that meets the eye. I know that they're covering up something, and that's the telltale sign of guilt. Milady doth protest too much. Well, they're trying to tell you to not talk, to not mention the word Pizzagate on Reddit and Twitter. That's suppression of freedom of speech at the very core. They're trying to stop a dialogue from forming about missing kids in America and what's going on with Jeffrey Epstein and all the pedophiles. They even want you believing that Jeffrey Epstein is dead. And they've spun a story about how he may have actually been killed. But the reality is we have evidence that Jeffrey Epstein is alive. It doesn't take a lot to see that this is Jeffrey Epstein standing above his little St. James Island location right after Dorian hit. And this was 20 days after he died, allegedly. So, I mean, they would love to keep this story shut down. He's wearing his signature light blue shirt, which he loved to wear, like this one where he was wearing one with in 1992 with Donald Trump when they were kind of hitting on all the women in the room. Now, bear in mind, Jeffrey Epstein's first job was working for the Dalton Prep School in New York, and the guy who got him the job is William Barr, William Barr's father. Donald. William Barr is our Attorney General right now. So this is a very small little clique of people that are very powerful. Yeah, now William, the connections between Donald Barr, William Barr, our current Attorney General, and Jeffrey Epstein are really, really big connections. So no wonder they want the whole Jeffrey Epstein story to go away and for us to think that he killed himself, or worse, he was shot and killed, or they tried to hang him. They garroted him. No, there's no evidence of that. There is evidence that the person lying in state in the coffin wherever he is, or if he's been cremated, we'll never know. They probably cremated him, I don't know. But that person is definitely not Jeffrey Epstein. The decedent had a different nose. You can see right there how distinct the decedent's nose on the left is, and Jeffrey Epstein's on the right. Okay, I got that. Thank you. Just a gigolo, really? You can do better than that. But look at the differences between the ear, too. There's definitely the ear is completely different. So they're lying to us. And the two parties are complicit in this lie. They just don't care. And very few people are as courageous as I am to even talk about this. Because if they want to cover up a Mossad agent who's being used to molest little girls by politicians and get that on videotape, then they would love to suppress the story. But you look at his ears, and if I have to draw you a picture, I will. I mean, this is outright suppression of freedom of information. The ear of the decedent looks kind of like a swan. You can kind of see the swan image right there. Yeah, and his earlobe is totally different. It's oblong and has a long spline to it. Two different images entirely. So clearly we're dealing with a cover-up of the highest order. It's sad, too, because we deserve better. But we haven't really deserved better because we haven't really built a political movement to stop these scumbags who control the two parties. And like I said earlier, I believe they're making Donald Trump out to be such a bad president, and they put him in place because they can control him. They've got all kinds of dirt on him. But they put him in place, and he's such a bad president that he's been driving our country apart. And it really is kind of scary because if you support the right to bear arms and you still support Donald Trump, you're a fool. Because Donald Trump has already turned his back on the right to bear arms. He's embraced the red flag laws that Moscow Mitch McConnell is pushing. And I'm sure it's a slippery slope before you have your guns taken away from you from that perspective. Whereas I don't support gun control, and I said it's off the table. Those are my words, not Trump's. Trump then said that Background checks were off the table. Yeah, background checks are off the table too. Gun control is off the table. But we need to figure out a way to solve our problem, our crisis with a deadly chemical spray all over the skies of our country, affecting our water supply and our air supply. These are the real issues facing the country. The elitists, they don't want to do what the hard work of getting rid of chemicals in the air. They want to do a thing called weather modification. And then they want to claim it's happening as a result of your carbon pollution that you're getting when you buy a piece of steak or you burn your gas down the street. They want to blame the human population for this, which is absurd. So I have a very simple plan, much more simple, is get rid of the carbon in the air. Start with a massive program of air filtration. And of course follow up with stopping chemicals from being sprayed in the skies above us. Okay, we have another mirrored side of the deception that is Max Egan. Thank you. Some people are reporting that Max Egan may be a total YouTube shill. We'll be looking at that tonight. Thanks, Scissor Fight. Got a lot of good videos coming up at our 10 o'clock hour tonight, exposing a lot of the deception going on within our society. But these are the ideas that I support that Greta won't even mention. And I'm talking about water filtration too for every person at their point of use filtration. Everyone could have water filtration at their home. There's no reason for any of you to be drinking tap water at this point in our development on Earth. So our leaders aren't doing enough. And I need your help to build this third party by at least making yourself aware and perhaps making others aware as well. Because they want everyone to believe that climate change is happening. Well, yeah, they're making whatever is happening happen. And then they're blaming it on you, the consumer, which is ridiculous. I don't care how many diesel trucks you drive, you realize it is pollution. And we are dealing with it, all of us. And ironically, diesel is considered the clean burning fuel because it burns in large particles and drops quickly. Believe it or not, diesel does not produce a lot of greenhouse gas. So when you talk about all the diesel on the highways, it's more like if you get near the mufflers and breathe it, it's very bad for you. But if you stand back, those particles drop right down to the ground. Well, I'm only asking people with diesel trucks not to park near the entrances of markets. Park in the outskirts of the market when you idle your diesel truck, keep your glow plugs going. Don't park near the entrances, because that's where the real problem happens, is when people get a concentrated dose of it, that's what they got to worry about. No, I didn't nick my chin. No, I'm good. Thank you. I'm proud of you, Vika Sweet. You haven't clicked the link in what you've been resisting. I'm really impressed. Yeah. I've got this book here, The Child's First Book of Trump. And I think it's written by a Democrat, of course. But I think, what is this strange beast you keep hearing about? Together, I think we can figure it out. And they decided that it was just a person who really likes to eat and defecate. And we determined it was a subspecies of the... no, I'm just making that up. But very strange. And I think there's even a wall hanging here. Yeah. Oh, no, it's the book cover. There it is. The First Book of Trump. It's a kid's book to describe his childlike behavior. Yeah. Ja, die Kinderbuch Bibliothek. Ja, Vika, das ist richtig. Poor Vika. She never learned English. Yeah, she never did. Well, Trump has a lot of women in his orbit to give him comfort in this time of need. Yes, there's Carolyn Sunshine, and I know that she's available at 24/7 at the White House. I don't know if she has a room down from his, but that's his press assistant. Carolyn Sunshine, a YouTube star. She's about 22, 23 years old. Ja, ich lese alle Biografien. Yeah. So you got that going for you, Donald. And then there was, of course, Hope Hicks in the early days. For about a year and a half, when Trump was first under investigation for rigging the election and working with the Russians, Hope Hicks was there by his side, and she's on record. She's on record saying that she had to lie for him a lot. Would you like to be read to, Shelley? Well, you can get books on tape, Shelley, and listen to things like that. You don't need me to have to read to you. Yeah, and of course your tax structure is completely controlled by the World Bank, Player 17. Yeah. And the Zionist elitists that control our government through the Federal Reserve is a real problem. I'd like to really address that in a debate. The two parties won't even pick up where Ron Paul left off. Okay, let me mute the thing. Hang on. Okay, yeah, I'll do a little David Lee Roth in about an hour, I guess. Thanks. Yeah, a little ain't enough. Thank you for that tidbit. Whew. Yeah, very proud of you, Bika, but you just posted again, and that's unfortunately a mutable and a bannable offense. Yeah, I don't know what to say. I mean, you're doing some pretty bad things, Bika. Bad Vika, bad Vika. Okay, what I'll do is play a little music.
The brochure.
I've got a documentary I'm going to be playing tonight about homeless people because we're still dealing with that truth. I'll be doing some of this tonight. We've got this in the lineup. The United States of Tents. It's about the huge number of people living in tents in this country. That'll be in the evening as well. We've got that in the lineup, just so you know. Hello. It's not working for some reason. All right, so we'll do that. And then tonight I wanted to talk for the next hour, if I could, about 9/11. Yeah. Yeah, we've had a lot of questions about 9/11. Big questions. Yeah, we've got problems with the official narrative. Well, yeah, back you're talking about under Stalin, right? At least 20 million, if not more, Russians died under Stalin. True. But I'd like to talk about what they did during 9/11, and we don't have to talk about it for the full hour because I want to talk about other things. But when I looked at 9/11 initially, I thought the Mossad did it. I really did. And when the 9/11 Commission report didn't take into consideration the possibility that explosions occurred, which many witnesses on the ground actually claimed happened, I knew there was a big problem. And then when we found out that there was a group of Mossad agents posing as artists setting charges in buildings just a couple weeks before the 9/11 attack, that really tipped my interest. Yeah, the 9/11, the gelatin bee thing. The great masses of the people will more easily fall victim to a big lie than to a small one. That was Adolf Hitler. Yeah. So we've got an encore representation of the gelatin bee thing tonight. And that'll be about how the charges were set in the Trade Center to take down 3 buildings. Now, I've had a request from someone to talk baby talk tonight. And I'm not really sure what's going on in your head. You may be suffering brain damage. Yeah. Ask your doctor. Okay? Yeah, ask your doctor. You may be suffering from brain damage. Yeah, baby talk isn't what we talk about here. But then I had the big question, well, how come the Pentagon attack, was supposedly a plane, a 767 plane, how come that attack occurred and only one camera angle was covered. And there were 83 camera angles around that area. We are being DDoSed, implying I am hitting on some really important points right now. The more DDoSing we get, the more truth I deliver in the show. Okay, so I'm on the right track. I'm getting attacked right now. But take a look at this footage right here. This is a white streak in the corner of the screen right there. You're going to see a close-up of this. Let's look closer. Yeah. There you go. Look at that. That's the tip of the missile. And I said a plane, right? And according to the 9/11 Commission report, they said a plane. That's not a plane. That's a missile. Yeah, it's serious. So why did they lie to us about that? And how come they only revealed 83 one camera angle out of 83 camera angles? We only got one, and we only got 15 frames, by the way. We are being attacked right now due to the sensitivity of the discussion we're having. I'm running a test on YouTube tonight to see if they're going to scrub this entire show based on the simple fact I added WTC 9/11 to the tagging. I'm going to see if we get an attack on their show and they do something with the signal, because the more I talk about this, I think the less people want, the less the elitists want us to hear about it. People want to know about it, but this is a significant problem right here. Why are we looking at the tip of a missile, like a Tomahawk missile? Well, maybe you didn't know that they attacked the area of the Pentagon. Yeah, it is weird. And there were 83 camera angles. Only one of these cameras caught this picture. None of the other camera angles were ever admissible, and the FBI only released 15 frames. Okay, we brought you Larry Sinclair earlier. Zeno, what more of Larry Sinclair do you need? So you believe that some of the terrorists were assisted by a sovereign foreign government? Why a sovereign foreign government? How do we know the terrorists weren't groomed by the CIA that did this? Now, let me remind you, there's not one person arrested of the 18 alleged terrorists named in the 9/11 Commission report. There's not one single one arrested. So that's strange in and of itself. Let's go to some new Larry Sinclair, some other testimony by Larry Sinclair about how he had sex with Barack Obama in a limousine while doing crack.
The day that it was done and the day after, once I returned home, I was asked questions about the procedure and the process. And I had had a polygraph done once before, back in the 80s. And I specifically instructed the examiner, I knew darn well you didn't put the blood pressure cup and the whatever on the fingertips on the same hands. And he was advised of the nerve damage and the fact of the circulation, and I have bilateral ulnar nerve entrapment in both arms.
Wow. Poor Larry Sinclair had a bad lie detector. He had a bad lie detector test, and he passed it with 99% certainty, though, that he was telling the truth, that he had sex with Barack Obama in a limousine in 1999. So, yeah, I played it earlier. I didn't want to, bore people with less information. Well, if you believe that there is something to this story, you're one of the many people that are questioning it. There's thousands of architects and engineers who signed off on the 9/11 Engineers and Architects Truth Project, where they believe that the trade centers were not toppled by fires and by planes. There's no way they could have been damaged enough by planes to topple. And there's no way Building 7, which wasn't even hit by a plane, how that could have fallen. So that's a glaring example of a problem in that story. Building 7 was not hit by a plane, but it still toppled. And there were people setting, these particular charges here. I'm going to play the gelatin bee thing for you a little bit later. But I will play a portion of it right now. a section of the movie which, if I can bring it up, it's kind of random. Right here. Yeah, that's it right there. This was a picture of these guys, these Mossad agents that were posing as artists. And you notice I'm getting DDoS right now. You see on the wall there, people have identified the cardboard on the walls, and in the back, we actually had a close-up of those. Those are actually charges, detonators. Yeah, the gelatin bee thing we'll be showing you later tonight, they were detonators that were being placed 2.5 weeks in the buildings. So that implies there must have been some foreplanning and forethought in this. And in the process, whoever these people were, and if they were connected to Israel, the net effect of the 9/11 attack and the World Trade Center attack is that we are now integrally involved in Israel's defense. Our country has virtually become a Zionist country. Yeah, a Zionist country. I didn't know that we were a Zionist country. I never was told that in school. But our president, Donald Trump, has declared Israel to be so important that he's declared Judaism as a nationality. And we're doing pretty much the bidding of Israel by being over in Iraq and Afghanistan. And even our position in Syria was designed to shore up defenses for Israel in a way. Isn't that interesting? And I think that some of the Zionist elitists in Russia are working in tandem with Israel. I don't think they're enemies at all. So I think their main goal, these elitists, is to get rid of countries like Syria and Iran that have their own independent banking system. Because remember, all the banks in the world, for the most part, are run and owned by the Rothschild family. They own a tremendous amount. Let me show you how many they own. It's crazy. I was shocked when I went through this list, but here's a list of the banks owned by the Rothschild family. And these are the people behind the Zionist movement. Yeah, so the Zionists ostensibly hijacked our country a long time ago. But these are all the banks right here. You can't see them, but, oh, I'm sorry. There they are. Okay. Yeah, they're just amazing. They're A to Z. These are all the banks that the Rothschild family owns. Even the Federal Reserve is owned by them. The Federal Reserve and the IRS is owned by the Rothschilds. So the people who own all the banks in the world have essentially done the unthinkable. They've controlled all the political activities in every country they're involved in. So it's very likely that their end game is to take out Iran and Syria so that Israel is more protected. And their primary goal really is to create a new Jerusalem. The Zionist primary goal is to create a new Jerusalem, and they believe that they have it. They have not only acquired Jerusalem and made the embassy, the U.S. embassy, the centerpiece in Jerusalem now, but thank you. Hey, Ab, how you doing, man? Good to see you. Yeah, the earth is still spinning, I know. Isn't that great? Okay, we got WTC firefighters calling out Bravo 7. That'll be good. World Trade Center firefighters will add to the story of 9/11 tonight. I kind of dedicate Tuesdays to Truth Tuesday, so if you ever want to talk about 9/11, tonight's the night. Can I play Take 5 tonight to show the world the ATP has musical charisma? You mean Take 5 as in Hawaii 5-0 or what? Yeah. It's not only against the law to talk about Jewish people. No, not at all. Nation. I'm moving forward. Supported the idea of independent. Hitler was planning on actually shipping the horrible deaths occurred, the Holocaust occurred. That's fine. I have nothing against Jewish people. Believe me, I like Jewish people. Please don't call right now. Thank you. Yeah, but then the horrible Holocaust occurred. I'm sorry, I can't take your call. It's probably just a harasser anyway. I'm so sorry. Anyway, let me play you a little clip from Netanyahu. I played it the other day. It's very telling. Netanyahu, who, believe it or not, is still clinging to power in Israel, is a strong leader, and he exposed exactly what I was referring to, and all about Hitler and what Hitler wanted to do. He actually wanted to send Jewish people there, and he was looking for a place to do it. Let Netanyahu explain, a very strong Jewish leader.
And this attack and other attacks on the Jewish community in 1920 and 1921, 1929, were instigated by a call of the Mufti of Jerusalem, Haj Amin al-Husseini, who was later sought for war crimes in the Nuremberg trials because he had a central role in fomenting the final solution. He flew to Berlin. Hitler didn't want to exterminate the Jews at the time. He wanted to expel the Jews. And Haj Amin al-Husseini went to Hitler and said, if you expel them, they'll all come here. So what should I do with them, he asked. He said, burn them. And he was sought during the Nuremberg trials for prosecution. He escaped it. Later died in cancer after the war, died of cancer in Cairo. But this is what Haj Amin al-Husseini said. He said, the Jews seek to destroy the Temple Mount. My grandfather in 1920 seeks to destroy the Al-Aqsa Mosque. So this lie is about 100 years old.
So we need to blame Haj Amin al-Husseini for the death of all the Jews, ironically. And we have to blame Adolf Hitler for implementing the death of all the Jewish people. Now, some of you people have been led down a very dark road of Holocaustism, where you don't believe the Holocaust occurred. You think it was all fictionalized and done in CGI. The truth is, nothing was done in CGI. It was filmed. And you holo-hoaxers are calling me right now, I know that. It was filmed. Becca, I've warned you enough. I can't allow you in the show anymore. Zionism was the support of a Jewish nation, but now it's turned into a new world order, global governance idea. You see, it wasn't enough for the Zionists to do the Balfour Declaration. They wanted something more. And now they've put together Agenda 2020, Agenda 2030, Agenda 21. We are now seeing their implementation of global dominance, not just the state of Israel, but now they're seeking global dominance, and that's where I step off the ship. I'm not a Zionist. I don't support Zionism. I don't want to turn on our ally, Israel. I like Israel. But I don't see them running us around like they are and getting away with it. But if you average Americans and Goyim who dominate the political structure want to sit there and believe that you don't need representation, you can trust the Jewish leaders that have been picked by AIPAC. Feel free. Go right ahead. But if you want to question whether our country should be supporting Israel all the time, then please help me build this third party. We're not going to do it without your help. It's not going to happen. So I'm not sure exactly how to get through to these Goyim that are watching the show who may suffer from white guilt because they're not Jewish. I really don't know how to get through to you because you don't have a representative in government in America. The Democrats represent AIPAC. The Republicans represent AIPAC, the American Israeli Political Affairs Committee. Yeah, they're not even a political committee per se, they're a political affairs committee. They're not a political action committee like a PAC. They never were. But they've funneled a lot of money into the hands of people like Hillary Clinton and Elizabeth Warren and Pete Buttigieg. Yeah, how do you think he got $24 million in 3 months? It didn't come easy, I can tell you that. But you Goyim, you don't have any money, and you basically like to go to fast food restaurants with your money, which is fine. So there I come in. I don't require money to do this. I require you to mention me to people around you. That's it. And anyone around the world who has friends in America can talk to them about me and how I've been censored. But I can tell you, we're never going to get anywhere, us Goyim, because the Jewish people have a 5% of the population, but they've got at least 95% control of politics in America. They control the medical profession. Most doctors are Jewish. Most lawyers are Jewish. Most people in entertainment are Jewish. And I have nothing wrong with Jewish people, but don't you think you Goyim need a little representation in politics for once? Or are you going to sit there and allow these people, these 5% who dominate the monetary system, which is screwing you over, are you going to sit and let them take over the country? Because they already have full control of the country. The question is, are they going to lead you anywhere nice? Because it doesn't look like they're leading you anywhere nice right now. You're headed toward a dystopian future where everything will be burnt to a crisp because greed will be the number one thing that'll matter to humanity. And still to this day, that's all they care about. Money. And I'm not talking about Jewish people. I'm talking about our government. Take 5, Dave Brubeck. That's a long song. First aired at the Newport Jazz Festival in 1964. Yeah, I could do that. Dave Brubeck died 2 years ago. Sure, I'll play a little of Dave Brubeck tonight. I like Jewish people, and I have nothing against what they have acquired in their life. I'm not jealous in any way. I'm concerned that they've dominated industries. That's my concern. And now they're dominating foreign policy and pushing us toward a global new world order. I think being Jewish is... I've met a lot of good Jewish people, and they're not greedy. I'm telling you that. The ones that really are the bad seeds within that sect of people are the Ashkenazis, like Hitler and Himmler and Goering and Goebbels. These were the people that the worst possible people that later claim that they're Jewish. A lot of German, Russian Ashkenazis moved to America after the war. Ironically, we didn't prosecute too many Nazis, but the Ashkenazis moved over here and became Jewish and have become the big donors to various, I guess, synagogues that are very powerful. The most powerful of all, the Ashkenazis, ex-Nazis that were living in Germany, the most powerful now get support from them are the biggest synagogues like Chabad Leibovitch in New York, the place where Jared Kushner and Ivanka go and worship. And Chabad Leibovitch happens to be the place where Russian oligarchs hang out. And in 2008, Donald Trump had veritably no credit. His credit was like on the skids. When the subprime thing happened, he went to the Germans, he went to the Deutsche Bank, and then to the Russian oligarchs to back him, and he took out $1 billion loan, which he still owes $1 billion to Deutsche Bank. Trump does. Oh, you're calling because you can't stand the truth. You want to get into this conversation because you know that I'm hitting it right square in the eye, and I'm directing my message to the American people and everyone around the world to know that Donald Trump got a big credit draw from the Russian oligarchs at Chabad Leibovitch. Now, that being the case, he's built his fortune off of the money that he got from his father, the $430 million, and he proceeded to lose that through casinos that went bankrupt. By 2000, he had to get a big loan from the Federal Reserve, which he secured. But then in 2008, he lost so much money in that time period. Even he submitted a tax document that shows that he lost $1 billion in 2007, and he took that as a credit so he would never have to pay taxes again. But from 2008 on, he had Russian oligarch money, and he was known to be shopping for properties with big suitcases full of cash. Now, you don't have to watch a lot of mob movies or Sopranos to know that when you go buy some real estate with a big box of cash, you're money laundering. So the reason why Donald Trump does not want to show his tax returns is because that's what it shows. Russian oligarch money buying Donald Trump and his favors. Now, the key to Donald Trump is he promises everything to everybody, like a con artist. He offers people all these things. That's why it's so easy for him to offer you Americans who vote for him everything you want to hear. Oh, he'll stand there and support you in all ways because that's what he's been doing all his life. He doesn't want anyone to see his IRS tax returns because they would show the Russian oligarch money that built his fortune. This is a man that the elite Zionists have their deep hooks in right now. And they don't want to see those IRS tax returns. That'll tell the telltale truth of what he's been doing. And he's very concerned about having anyone hear his conversations with Putin. He's had 13 hours of conversations with Vladimir Putin, and he won't talk about it. There's not one recording of any of them, which means that there's something very weird going on. Now, Putin is in bed with the Russian oligarchs. He works with them. They're pretty much part of his main bread and butter. And these are the forces that are controlling our president. And these are the forces that will not release their control, and they don't want him to lose in this impeachment, so they've rigged it. Russian oligarchs have funded Mitch McConnell to the tune of $3 million for his re-election campaign. It's not his biggest donor, but it's one of them. Mitch McConnell's been getting money from a Russian oligarch, the same person, that's why they call him Moscow Mitch, the same person who's been giving money to Lindsey Graham, about $3 million as well. A guy by the name of Len Blavatnik. And the Democrats won't even talk about this because they don't want to stop their fund of foreign money coming in for re-election either. Both parties are feeding off of Russian, Ukrainian, French, Saudi Arabian, whatever money they can get. They don't want to expose this. But this is a big donor, this Len Blavatnik, who works for Oleg Deripaska, a man who many people believe was the person instrumental in rigging our election. This is a tight little ship I'm showing you right here, and they're running it. And these Zionists who want to control our future are trying to direct the course of politics in America. And it's up to us, Americans, to build this party and stand up to these son of a bitches who think they can control the destiny of all of us. With their 5% control over our population, they only comprise 5%. They want total control over our destiny. And this is why we need to step up, we Americans. And I don't need your money. I need you to talk about me to everybody you know. Really? Michael Avenatti was just arrested and taken into custody by federal agents? Wow. Was it regarding the Nike thing? Was it regarding the Nike thing? What was the charge? I'll get the phone if it makes you feel any better. It's just somebody threatening my life. It's no big deal. Yes, can I help you? Go ahead. Hello? Oh. See, it's just crank calls. They try to interrupt me during the whole thing. Oh, I am calm. I'm not here to, really get riled up, but I use this show and the full 1.5 hours I have to direct my message to the people that just don't get it. I do a pretty good job of making it as clear as possible as to what's happening. Most people don't understand that. Sarah said you should adopt your nephew. Wow, okay. Good for you. Yeah, go ahead. What's your question? Yeah, what can I do for you? Yeah. We got people threatening me daily. Anytime I talk about the Israeli-Russian Trump connection, they threaten my life. I get daily death threats simply because I'm bringing this up. Yeah, it's kind of amazing, isn't it? These people don't want their power taken away, and the last thing they want is you goyim to figure it out. X-Fox reporter says she dodged Trump's kiss. Okay. Let's take a look at that. Yeah, they know I figured the whole thing out, and they don't want any of you to know about this. They really don't. Courtney Friel says Donald Trump called her with a creepy suggestion before he was elected president while both were married. Wow. He did ask me about my career goals, and then out of nowhere he said, you should come up to my office sometime so we can kiss. It infuriated me that he would call all the women who shared stories of his bold advances liars. I totally believe them, she says. Wow. Okay. The former Fox News reporter details the alleged proposition in her memoir, Tonight at 10, Kicking Booze. Freya worked at the conservative network 6 years and was sometimes a fill-in host. Dozens of women have accused Trump of sexual misconduct from early 80s to 2016. But he's denied all the claims. I have no idea who these women are. I have no idea. Yeah, he keeps saying that, deny, but they all say that he did unwanted advances.
These women are, have no idea. I have no idea. Women are, have no idea. I have no idea. Oh, I was with Donald Trump in 1980. I was sitting with him on an airplane. And he went after me on the plane. Yeah, I'm going to go after her. Believe me, she would not be my first choice, that I can tell you.
So then he denigrates the look of the person who he already sexually advanced, allegedly. Then he claims she wouldn't be his first choice. And he's never admitted to his Stormy Daniels experience. Okay, we have a thread of information. Just a few minutes ago, Stormy Daniels' ex-attorney, Michael Avenatti, was taken out of the California bar court in L.A., the custody of federal agents. So he apparently went to the bar and they pulled him out and they put him in federal custody. Yep. And then day keeps getting better. Okay. Yeah, we're not sure what that means, but we'll see if Michael Avenatti is facing charges on any number of counts. He has an outstanding situation going with Nike, where he allegedly extorted money from Nike. He's charged with 18 felonies on that note. You know, what happened with Stormy Daniels was really a tragedy because he used defamation as a point at which he wanted to sue Trump, and he lost terribly, and it's costing Stormy Daniels $239,000. He charged Stormy Daniels a lot of money too and made it on the side. And he even did a crowdfunding of $430,000 that he got just to support Stormy Daniels. So Michael Avenatti's got some real answering to do. But getting back to the point I was making, he violated the agreement of his bail. Okay, well, there you have it. Eric Trump said to two guys on the golf course in 2016, before Trump actually won the election, he told two witnesses on the golf field that Donald Trump had a $100 million line of credit. That's right, his son Eric Trump said that his dad had a $100 million line of credit with Russia. Now that's a serious thing, and anyone who really understands what I'm doing on a daily basis is surely aware that I'm trying to paint a picture here where you Republicans understand that Donald Trump is working directly for Russia. They've underwritten his loan with Deutsche Bank to the tune of $1 billion, a Russian oligarch has. They've done everything they could to rig the election by manipulating our politics through networks like Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and others. And they've continually pressed into our election process with their penetration even to this day for the 2020 election. And Trump still says he never admit that Putin had anything to do with him winning. When in fact, according to Robert Mueller, Trump knew in advance, and he didn't tell anybody that the Russians rigged the election in favor of him. He never told the FBI. He's even openly said that he would accept dirt from foreign governments about his opponents and not tell the FBI, which in and of itself is a felony. I know they're blind zombies, Player 17, but my point of the matter is we're slowly getting through to these people. They wouldn't be watching my show if I didn't talk about the hit points. And every night I bring up the key points that I talk about how Trump has helped Russia. He didn't impose Russian sanctions for almost 2 years. He disrespected NATO, the enemy of Russia, leaving us with very, very bad relations with our allies, which helped Russia. He hurt Ukraine for 84 days, didn't give them the necessary funds which were allotted by our government to go to Ukraine to fight Russia. So that helped Russia. He destabilized Venezuela and didn't support Maduro in any way, which pushed Maduro to take a close relationship with Russia and now offer a missile silo with a hypersonic weapon pointing right at us in Venezuela, which helps Russia. He literally gave up an airfield we built for Syria, for the rebels' support in Syria, and he handed the whole thing over to Russia, which pissed off a lot of Republicans who were really trying to keep track and control over the Syrian and Russian menace in that region. And then he started a war with Iran pretty much in every attempt to, especially his recent choice to go way ahead of his Pentagon recommendations, which 7 months ago we knew that Soleimani was targeted. He could have attacked Soleimani 7 months ago, but he waited until now. You can wonder how many people Soleimani may have killed in that time period that Trump did nothing. And he waited till right now in the impeachment to go after Soleimani to start a war with Iran, which incidentally helps Russia because Russia wants to sell S-300s and S-400s to Iran and Iraq. It undermines our relationship with Iraq as well. They're now angry at us. They want to turn to Russia for S-300s. And then he invariably raised the price of oil, which helps Russia. Russia really wants a higher price in oil. That's primarily the core of their economy. And remember, Russia's economy is no bigger than Texas. They have a very small economy. So they're manipulating the world theater with their superpowers, their military might, and their threats. And Trump likes Putin. Are you with me here? And then he established a Chinese trade war, which elevates Russia by sinking U.S. and Chinese economies, bringing Russia up, which helps Russia. He refuses to show any tapes of Putin. He won't show his tax returns. How can you possibly think that Trump is not guilty? Now, I was the one that said that we're not facing World War III with Trump. And I was the one that outed the whole Soleimani thing as just a big ruse for diversion technique. He's trying to divert our attention from the impeachment crisis. I was the one that made that very clear. And I told you to calm down and not freak out. I did it in my show. I can tell you that Bernie didn't do well. He's just too weak of a leader. And his approach is so whiny, it becomes almost imperative to turn down the Bernie great crazy socialist sound. Because Bernie doesn't want to be nice to you taxpayers. He wants to gouge you. And he'll pay for all of his programs. Same with Elizabeth Warren. But the more you hate on Trump, the more you turn to the Democrats instead of turning to a third party. And that's scary. Because the more you people turn against Donald Trump, the more likely you're going to see a resurgence of gun control, of the Democrats wanting to tax you with luxury taxes and charge you for carbon point legislation. And ironically, the more you hate Trump and you turn to the Democrats, the more you're going right into the clutch of the Zionist elitists that control the Democratic Party as well. They control both sides. They don't control the middle. I'm not owned by Zionist overlords. People have offered to, give me money to stop doing this, but I won't stop because I don't give a crap about their money. It means nothing to me. Nothing. Real Man's attorney says, I support Sponheim. My wife's family lives in the Philippines. Most Filipino cafes broadcast this show in the morning. There you have it. And our show repeats on YouTube every day, so you can watch it over and over again. We're not sure how Apex got in here, but I can't understand why a person like that would think that I'm obsessed with talking about myself when I talk mostly about the threat against our nation. So this person is obviously a puppet or somebody who's been paid to come in here and attack our show. I'll ban him because he says I talk mostly about myself. I'm trying to save this nation. And then I get these scumbags who come in here and call me on the phone, threaten my life. And then they come in and they try to write things about me as if I'm some sort of a self-serving person. I'm the most selfless person on earth, practically. I don't know anybody that cares less about themselves than they do about the world around me. I truly care about what's happening. And I've had this feeling all my life that we are headed toward a very dark time unless we build a bridge. And this third party is the bridge. We cannot possibly expect the two parties to navigate our way out of this hellhole we're in. It's not good. They're not thinking about the end game and how cybernetics will control the world if we let it. The problem with the Zionist leaders who run both the Democratic and Republican Party is they actually believe, yeah, something weird happened when I banned him. Did you see that? Somehow there was a glitch, and while I banned him, his chat came in, and I had to ban him twice. Well, the cybernetic world that is developed around us, and I'm not talking about Dianetics here. It's a science of communications and automatic control systems in machines and living things, cybernetics. And it's now become a fixation of the elite Zionists who want to turn the world into transhumanists. So they're actually trying to depopulate the world right now, get rid of human beings. They're trying to turn people into transgenders by promoting transgenderism through the Democratic Party. You know it. I know it. You're seeing transgender everywhere. That's all by design. They're making people transgender to make them stop having babies. But they also are killing us slowly through the toxicity of the food we eat and the water we drink and the sodas that are filled with fluoride and countless chemicals. So when they do that, they're achieving their goal of depopulation and brainwashing at the same time. Now, this is something that's been going on for a long time, and it takes somebody with my type of conviction to break the back of these control freaks that want to control our future. Now, Eric for Good has something for us here. It's a joke, Eric? You're talking about the Space Force and its first commander? Okay.
The newly established Space Force has its first ever Chief of Space Operations. Vice President Mike Pence swore in General John Raymond in a ceremony at the White House Tuesday. Raymond has overseen the Space Force since President Donald Trump approved its creation in December with the signing of the National Defense Authorization Act.
I'm very sorry to say, but this is an outright lie. We've had a Space Force since 1946. We're not building a new Space Force. Truman created a Space Force, a military Space Force. We have no need for a Space Force. This is a joke. They're doing this perfunctory thing to make it seem like they're doing something important. We are literally dealing with a bunch of stupid liars who like money. Those are the people that run our country. I won't unban APACs. He said I was serving myself every night. I don't. I'm the most selfless person I've ever met. I'm trying to raise awareness every night, and I put myself on the line. I have put myself in grave danger for this country, and you accuse me of being self-centered? You don't deserve to be here, Apex. Sorry. The space farce is what it is. We all know that the NASA logo stands for never a straight answer. That's what NASA stands for. Never a straight answer. They have an elaborate program to fake us all out. We've had numerous people watch the International Space Station be exposed and their green screen and photography equipment being exposed. They're not up in space when they're pretending to do a spacewalk. They're underwater. I'm not gay, Willie. That's a bannable offense. I've never been gay in my life. You think that's funny? He lost his account. That's not some funny joke. I've never been gay in my life. Yeah, so many of you are kind of in the dark as to why Donald Trump has remained in power and why the Democrats are still trying to get him out of power. Because he is clearly engaged in some pretty dark things. And it's his fault that he had relations with Russian oligarchs, that he chose a Russian oligarch, Paul Manafort, as his first chairman that he continues to choose people like Jeffrey Epstein's cousin, Boris Epstein, as his senior campaign manager for 2020. You can't tell me Donald Trump has distanced himself from Epstein. Sorry. It doesn't work that way. Now, when we listen to the Democrats today, we kind of got a taste of how they're drifting. They don't really have the bite and the acerbic wit that I have when talking about Donald Trump or where our economy has gone.
I can't talk.
So if indeed they are kind of stymied for ideas, I heard Klobuchar today use my wording that we're going to double the Pell Grants for young students. I've been doing that for 8 years. I've been talking about doubling Pell Grants for students for 8 years. You people have seen me talk about it. How we're going to deal with the crisis in the education field. She somehow pulls that out of the blue, double the Pell Grants. I'm the one who came up with that 8 years ago. So they're using ideas they've gleaned from our show, and I'm sure many of them watch my show, just to get new, credible material. But instead of actually letting me in on the discussion, there's a gag order across the globe. Anybody who's handling mainstream media is not allowed to feature me at all. It's a job killer. They'll lose their job. Yeah, she watches the show, I'm sure. She's not going to win this race. I can assure you that. It's her demeanor that she's not able to correct. The same problem exists with Elizabeth Warren. When women get very assertive, it's kind of it's an oxymoron that they're assertive and they're not supposed to be sounding too assertive. We look to women to be calming. And when we turn to Elizabeth Warren or Amy Klobuchar, we don't get calm at all, we get nervous. That's not the message the American people want from a female leader. If I were to choose someone as a female president, I would choose Sarah Hart. You know, she's been fantastic as a person, and she even ran with me in the previous elections. But she would be a calming person to talk about, instead of an extremely nervous person like Elizabeth Warren. I'd much rather have Sarah as the first woman president, frankly. But that's just. When women are emotional, Sarah is the woman who spends time with me in the show. She's the one who wrote Hybrid Capitalism with me, the book, on our website. You haven't read the website? Okay, well, whatever. I'm going to take you to the future and give you a little, one-on-one time here for the next 15 minutes. Yeah, I think Sarah is an incredibly calm person and would be an outstanding president. I really do. Yeah, isn't Sarah awesome? And she's a person who really doesn't react emotionally, which I find rare in women. Yeah. Now, I've got brand new ideas that have never been talked to the American people about. We've got this amazing idea to put windmills on all the electric poles in the country. And this idea is out of the box, would provide backup energy in case of a disaster. We'd have capacitors attached to the units so that we'd be able to store energy for a period of time, like a day. It'd be amazing. A retrofit on all the electric poles to boost the energy signal if indeed we have a shutdown. This would be a guaranteed backbone of energy in the event of a disaster. Now, the Democrats can't think of ideas like this. These are coming out of my mind and my creativity. And I've been discussing this for 10 years, but we're not going to make this happen until we get a third party on board. No, windmills don't cause cancer unless you listen to Trump. Then they cause cancer in your mind. Trump has no idea of the benefits of windmills because, like many people, they have no idea that the electric pole itself has a certain amount of RF frequency radiation. It comes from having electric poles with all the electricity around it. But windmills being positioned on those electric poles pose no greater danger than the electric pole itself. So it will in no way cause cancer. You know what does cause cancer? The 5G network, which Trump supports. That causes cancer. It's been proven to kill animals as well. And we have no long-term studies in America about this. That's the problem. Now, we can prevent this dystopian future from happening. We can bring on new technologies like the vertical windmill system to help prevent the degradation of our planet with coal and gas burning. But I don't want to shut down the coal industry, don't get me wrong. It's a vital part of our future. We're not going to stand back and fire 750,000 coal workers in America because the Democrats just don't like coal. I'm very practical that way. We're going to stand up to that, but we're going to definitely work toward modern air filtration, which the Democrats don't seem to want to do, and water filtration, which will help your water. I've got some very high-tech ideas too. Delivery of, right. Thank you. A drone missile defense system. Now, this idea is born out of the desire to provide our nation with a form of income, which is essential. The truth is, our nation would not be as strong of an economy if we didn't have military industrial output. I've crafted a way in which we can become the leader in drone missile defenses, and then thereby provide our allies with guaranteed safe areas around their country that would only defend their country. The drones that we create will be hardwired so that they won't communicate with each other directly. And they won't have a central form of communication either. They'll be functioning off of a chip memory that will not be hackable. And we'll be able to customize that chip memory for any country we sell the plan to. Every set of drone missiles that we put out there will have the map of that country etched into its memory. That's all that country needs, right? To defend its borders. Doesn't need anything else. And these drones will not be able to be used against their own people. These are safeguards that a president like Trump would never put into play. These are ideas that will save us from the inevitable death by drone, which some people prophesize as one of the worst possible things that could happen in this world. A massive supply of drones that could turn on the human population. Without planning and intelligent forethought here, with the mindless greed of the Zionists pushing their buttons, the Democrats and Republicans will guide us to self-destruction. And if we even have drone missiles, which I doubt they'll even come up with, they would probably be completely hackable and ultimately used against the people of this country. So if you don't choose a person with my clear vision and intelligence for president, you're stuck with Trump and a bunch of Democrats that don't even know what the hell's going on. So if you really think Trump is the way out, remind yourself that the ideas that he came up with were my ideas, not his. The 1,000-mile fence idea I came up with in 2008, I actually measured the distance we needed to cover, and I would have had all 1,000 miles covered by now with this amazing container fence idea for only $1 billion. But so far in 3 years, Trump has built 100 miles of a slat fence, a veritable slat fence that anybody could break into. Takes a device you could buy at Home Depot for $59 and cut through any one of those fences. It's ridiculous. He thinks that's a robust fence. This is far more impenetrable. We could fill these things up with places for people to live at the bottom floor. We could also make these things up above detonatable. We could make them as living infernos if somebody were to break through them. It's very easy to put propane canisters in these things and turn them into emoliators and incinerators. Every one of them. It'd be very cheap too. We'd make them completely impossible to penetrate. It wouldn't be that hard. But the lower floors could easily be built into some really, really nice, comfortable apartments for people to live in, bunk beds, cooking facilities, fresh water. We don't need to have an immigration problem. We need a solution to the problem. And the Democrats can't come up with one. And they're not even crying enough about the dangers of what 1 million people are suffering from right now is a concentration camp at the border with Trump running it. We've got a concentration camp down there. But But yeah, you could sell hot sauce on the side of here. It'd be, hola, hot sauce. You could put advertising on the side of these things. But once you get your side done, we slick it down with perfectly frictionless hydrophobic material. And you could never get any traction on there. Even if you put a magnet on there, you wouldn't be able to get a traction. You wouldn't be able to actually lock it into place. It would slide right down. Whereas these slat fences, people are climbing over them with throw nets that can go over the top. One guy took rocks and stuck them between each slat and used it as a stairway up the slat. So when we slick it down, though, you can put advertising over it. Wouldn't matter. You can do whatever you want with it. But this has a tremendous amount of flexibility. Trump's idea, gone. And it's not his idea. Again, it's my idea. I'm the one who came up with the 1,000-mile fence. It was copied by Michelle Bachmann in 2012. And then Trump grabbed the idea and ran it with it as a wall. And somebody said, "Who's going to pay for it?" And he said, "We're going to have Mexico pay for it." Mexico didn't pay for it. In fact, we're paying Mexico for the fence that Trump is building. We're using a company out of Mexico called Comex. Believe me, I'd love to get 2020 my year, but bear in mind, my dogs don't cry. I have been censored at every level in American press. The only thing that got me out in 2016 was the blackface video. That's the only thing that got me any coverage. I was talked about in Rolling Stone magazine. It wasn't a big accomplishment, but it was something. I achieved my goal, which was to get some press, but there's a lock on any real press for me right now. So I can do the 1,000-mile container fence for $1 billion. These things cost about $2,000 a piece when you buy them in bulk, so it's not to worry. Trump's fence costs about $3.6 billion for 175 miles. And it's a cheaper fence, ironically. It's poorly built. So we can do this fence a lot cheaper, but Trump has been taking my ideas for a long time. Remember the word safe zone that I used back in 2008? Actually, 2009, I first introduced the weapons-free safe zones. In 2009, I came up with that idea. Trump, as soon as he hit the ground campaigning, he started talking about safe zones. Seriously. And he still recently talked about how he built a safe zone for the Kurds. No, I'm the one who came up with the concept of safe zones. Weapons-free safe zones that were set up to help people like the Kurds protect them. He used that idea, call it a safe zone, like it was his idea. He hasn't used the drone missile defense system yet, I can assure you that. He's not smart enough to do that. And neither is the U.S. military. The drone missile defense system will be a combination of hydrogen-driven drones with excessive speed. They'll be able to hover with solar panel electric charges. Most of their hovering will be for standby mode, and they will be processing and creating liquid hydrogen to use as a fuel pack. These drones will probably be about 3 to 5 feet wide, bigger than standard drones. And they'll be able to produce liquid hydrogen on the fly, pulling it out of the air. They'll be completely autonomous, and no one will ever be able to have to refuel them. They will have docking stations which will be hidden with cloak technology in blimps or on water-based units that can float in the water that'll be completely stealth. They'll have the ability to dock, replace themselves, and boot up and go back to that same location. But Trump, he could never come up with something so powerful. The most powerful idea here is that these things could be sold to our enemy, and we'd still be fine with that. We couldn't be able to bypass their electronics to break into it and to attack our enemy. So no better system is out there that could actually be used to sell to our enemy. What a brilliant concept. We could sell to our foes and our friends and make money the same way. So in no way do I want to pull the plug on military industrial development. I want it to be safer, saner, and guarantee a future where we have less weapons of mass destruction, less chances of supersonic, hypersonic weapons being used or threatened against the United States. Now, what Putin did last week was appalling. To see a man threaten the world with hypersonic weapons and claiming he's part of some plan to defend his country by attacking other countries was an outright act of international war. He in no way wants peace because Putin doesn't have the economic stability in his country to want peace. And he's kind of a dinosaur that way. We need to lose that mentality of the 20th century that he still possesses. We need to move into the 21st century and begin to scale back on nuclear weapons. Putin and Trump are not coming up with an intermediate nuclear force treaty. I will. And we'll work toward nuclear non-proliferation. Trump can't even begin to even say the word. And he hasn't made any progress with Kim Jong-un whatsoever. Now, I believe that we need a creative approach in 2020 to this incredible problem and the paradigm that's evolved because of Trump being such an awful president. And I can assure you, a centrist president will make that difference. We'll be able to find common ground between the left and the right as we move forward. So in lieu of the fact that this show continues against all odds, and the more they try to censor me, the more they're losing, the more I gain momentum. They blew it when they told me that I had to leave the show and stop doing it, and they were willing to pay me to do it. They blew it. They showed their hand. These people are desperate to stop creative, intelligent people like myself from saving this nation from the imminent doom that the Zionists have taken us to. And if they think they're going to just take me out because, gee, that's the first thing they want to do, I've already built a worldwide audience that they can't control. And I'll do everything I can to get the message out that this country wants peace, not these scumbag Democrat Zionists and Republican Zionists that want to do the bidding of some foreign power to control a world and create a new world order. In no way do I want that for the people of this country. Every nation can solve its own problems, and every nation should solve its own problems because the nation-state model has persisted over time. No one individual has ever dominated the world, and there's no way their New World Order scheme will ever work because it's destroyed the pathways of domination from Napoleon, Hitler, Caesar. All these people tried to dominate the world, and every one of them failed. Regional governments persist, and that's why we should keep the nation-state model forever and maintain open communication between all of the countries. But these global elitists want to erase the nation's borders, including our own. And Trump is right in there with them. He could care less. Have you seen real progress on that fence? I doubt Trump is going to build more than 100 miles of that fence because, frankly, the people that pay his bills, they don't want a fence in this country. They want immigration to just pour right in over the border like it is right now, still. And Trump has done next to nothing to stop that. And these are the people that want global world domination over all of us. And they're not going to stop. They'll control everybody in the Democratic and Republican Party. So it's up to you if you want to build a third party. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll be bringing you videos about 9/11 and other things tonight. Feel free to hang out till 1 o'clock in the morning. Our show goes on every day except Sundays. And we keep the ball rolling on every account. Thank you, Dave's so cool. Thank you. Thank you, Real Man's Attorney. Thank you, Player 17. Yeah. Thank you for coming in and sharing your views. We may not all agree about conspiracies. Don't let that stop you. I don't care if we disagree about conspiracies, honestly. I'm not worried about going to the moon myself, so if you believe we didn't go to the moon, you can certainly believe that or not. Doesn't matter to me. I think we can all agree that we need to find a pathway through the center of the political spectrum. That much we can agree upon. All right. I am Mr. Right signing off. Take care. Have a good one. Sleep well.
You're my Mr. Right, my Mr. Right. Too good to be true. You spin my world around, 'cause you're the peace I finally found. You sweep me off my feet, my heart stops to beat, 'cause you make me melt away. My Mr. Right, too good. You spin my world around, 'cause you're the peace I finally found. You sweep me off my feet, my heart stops to beat, 'cause you make me melt away. found. You sweep me off my feet, my heart stops to beat. Cause you make me melt away. You're my Mr. Right, my Mr. Right, too good to be true.